Good evening, everyone, and welcome here to Michigan International Speedway as it's going to play host to this year's 2021 Rolling Thunder Gaming Happy Holidays 200 special event. Drivers bringing out the special liveries on their trucks as they're preparing for this 90 lapper around this 2-mile speedway slash super speedway. I'm Seth Cole, being joined by Jessica Shelton. And Jess, here tonight, we've got a lot of drivers that are very good at speedway racing. We've got a lot of drivers that are very good at super speedway racing. Mix them together here at this racetrack in a special event. What can we expect to see?
Well, if any indications from our previous special events are repeated again tonight, I'd expect a really good, exciting finish because it's what we've seemed to be having every single time we do these special events. You said that we got the super speedway drivers, we got the speedway drivers mixed all together here. This track is going to be really interesting because we've been told for possibly 3, 4, maybe even 5 wide. They can hold it after only for a short time based on the tire wear. But hey, another thing we got to think about is there is strategy, tire wear, and fuel mileage. So with that coming into play, it's more of a strategic issue compared to I can plate race, I can intermediate, speedway race. Now we got to look at the strategy.
And we've got 33 drivers that are going to be taking the green flag here tonight as well, a big field, and so one simple mistake that takes place maybe up at the front of the field can sweep up drivers that are running mid-pack to the rear of the field. And not only are we running here at Michigan International Speedway here tonight, but we're running a special winterized version here as well. We've got the Christmas trees down pit road. There's about 4 or 5 feet of snow that we got here, lake effect snow this morning. The snow plows working very diligently to make sure that at least the racing surface and pit road are cleared off for us to be able to run. But if you end up doing a little bit of off-road racing, you're going to pick up quite a bit of snow on the front end of your truck. So hopefully the splitters that are on these trucks are going to maybe serve a bit as a snow plow as well, because last thing you want to do is disappear into a snowbank.
Yeah, how many times have we seen someone on videos go flying head first into one of those little barricades or the guardrails or something, and just randomly come to a direct stop, like those tire barriers and all from Sonoma and stuff, Seth? They go the wrong way in the snow, they're going to feel the same force right there. Boom, stopped, your race is over.
Now, Jeff Supta won this event last season, and he clinched the pole position for tonight's event with a 40.162. That's almost a full 10th over Grant Wesley's lap, which he will start on the outside of the front row. So early on here, is Supta the guy that we're watching to possibly win this thing for a second year in a row?
Even though I love his scheme, I will say that this is probably going to be an all-out because you got people behind him. Look at the drivers that are behind him. You got Grant Wesley, Tim Novsker, Sean Prime, Dante Ricky, Chuck McClure. But also, look at that driver that's right there in 8, Seth. How many times have we seen that one and only Robert Balcom randomly appear out of nowhere after falling back? He'll come out of nowhere and just be up front the whole time.
Absolutely. It's a lot of big names in the field here, and any one of them here tonight could find victory lane.
I'm kind of shocked here, Seth. Jeremy Jeffrey is way back there. He didn't qualify, and David Cannon didn't either, so I'm kind of shocked to see that.
Yeah, I mentioned the fact 33 drivers going to take the green flag, only 25 electing to take time. A number of them, as you mentioned, a lot of big names as well, starting towards the rear of the field. But it will be Jeff Supta who's going to lead us to green. Grant Wesley will line up to his outside in second. Tim Novsker is going to make up row number 2 with Sean Prime, Dave Melson, and Dante Ricky in row 3. Chuck McClure and Robert Balcom, they're going to be in row 4 with Jim Gloud and Greg Palmer completing the top 10. Ron Lucet and Andre Mahjong, they're in row 6. Row 7, Andrew Miller and Josh Metallic. Row 8 is going to find Andre Charest and Doug Hulick. And then in row 9, you've got Robbie Nisus and Ronnie Sullins, John Godfrey and Blaine Dolan. They're going to complete the top 20. Milt Surratt's going to be 21st, Richard Martin 22nd, Glenn Harris 23rd, Billy Ellison 24th, and Mark Paglia, the last driver to take time, he's going to be rolling off from the 25th position. 26th will be Jason Scheck, Bob LaChance in 27th, Jeremy Jeffries 28th, 29th will be Cy Jones, Doug Cady in 30th, Dave Robbins will be lining up in the 31st position, Dave Cannon in 32nd, and Brian Wolf will be the 33rd and final driver in the field here tonight. Yes, you talked about strategy here, and I took a couple of laps around this racetrack, and it's typical Michigan, flat out for the early going. But I think that these drivers, especially that are mid-pack, rear of the field, running in the draft of drivers ahead of them, they're going to be experiencing that aero tightness that we usually see at Michigan and the sister track of Auto Club. So, what's going to be the premium here for these drivers? Is it going to be those Goodyears, or is it going to be the Sunoco fuel?
Well, honestly, I honestly believe it's going to be the tires. Talking to a few people earlier, I found out that the tires, I mean, a full fuel run can last about maybe 23, 24 laps, clutching maybe 24, 25 laps if you're really, really pushing it at that limit. But tire wear starts around lap 11, lap 12 side. So, with that being said, and the tire is getting close to being yellow at that point, it's going to be more of a you want your good years before your fuel, and honestly, from what I'm looking at.
A lot of red, white, and green in the field here tonight, but it's the neon green Bud Lime Chevrolet Silverado of Jeff Supta that's going to lead us down. And the 2021 RTG Happy Holidays 200 is underway at Michigan.
I'm just in awe about all that garland all over the wall, all the way around.
Garland all over the wall.
Oh, there's a wreck. Turn one.
And that is a big one. My goodness. Robbie Nicest, Glenn Harris. That's Jeremy Jeffries in the 8. I mean, you talked about the fact that he didn't put down a lap time. Elected to start the rear of the field. Swept up in this early one. Doug Cady in the 007.
I saw him going to the bottom, and someone, it looked like either the back end kicked out or someone tapped someone, and the truck went sideways and went up, and then the wreck happened. I didn't know who it was. I was too far in the back looking at how they were going to get started.
Take a look and see who it was that got out of shape to start this thing, and it looks like it was around the 54 of Robbie Nisus. He's got John Godfrey behind him as they go into turn one. Let's see if those two might have been the ones to make the contact leading to the incident. Kind of looks like it looks like maybe, I don't know. It's really early on, so I don't really think that a truck would get tight at this point in time, but it almost looked like the 54 of Nisus pushed up for a brief moment there.
And I'm wondering if what I'm wondering is if it started to push up, if he kind of backed off the throttle a little bit to catch it, because he knew it was back going up a little bit, and maybe that one hesitation of trying to save it and catch it, Seth, maybe that's what caused Godfrey to lightly touch him.
Could very well have, as we take another look at the other drivers collected up. There's Harris, nowhere to go. Mark Pagley in the 28 was another driver involved that hadn't been documented, and the car behind him, oh, it's Brian Wolf in the 29, so it's about a good half dozen, maybe 7, 8 drivers that got bits and pieces. Now, it didn't look like anyone particularly took hard shots that would take them out of this race early on, but Michigan is one of those tracks where if you get a little bit of aero damage, it can affect you for the rest of the race.
Yeah, we got several drivers coming on pit road to double check into their tires. More than likely, they're just getting their tires changed because, like we said, there's tire wear and maybe a little bit of damage on a couple of these trucks. There's like, I think 4 that came down that time, Seth.
We're going to take an onboard here with Dave Robbins in the 96, who was able to get through the incident. Here's a look at his point of view of the incident going into turn number 1. Cy Jones also ahead of him in the Sunoco number 7 does a nice job getting to the inside line to avoid this wreck. First caution of the day, very early on in this one. And it's going to be interesting to see here as well. I mean, you talked about the fuel window and the possible timing of cautions that we have here, how it's going to play into fuel strategy, whether it would draw drivers back to pit lane or whether they might try and clutch, save a couple of laps out there under pacing, especially when we get towards the closing stages and closer to maybe, that 24, 25 laps to go window.
Well, I was told there's a good chance that it would be about a 3, pits 3 times, but no, honestly, I think that they might have to pit more than that based on how they started out this racing already. We'll have to see if they actually are able to settle it down a little bit, Seth. I don't know if they're going to start really aggressively here or if they're just going to ride along. These guys back here that's got a little bit of damage from that rack, Seth, I don't know if they're going to be up to speed exactly. And you and I know for a fact that if we get a little bit of damage on our vehicles, it does affect how it handles the whole way through. So it could be a little bit tighter, it could be looser. You know, we might have to change your entry going in and coming off the corners as well.
Yeah, front end damage, usually the car tightens up a lot sooner than it would for another driver that's got a pristine truck. If you got rear end damage, then of course that spoiler is going to be bent down. You're going to have a much looser truck for the remainder of the race. Lights are out atop the pace car. Oh no, they are not. They're actually on an extra lap here, so we
Yeah.
should be getting the 1 to green next time by. And boy, early night for one Mark Paglia. It looks like he's brought his number 28 to the garage area, and he'll be finishing 31st here tonight. That is a tough break there for a driver that really never even got out of the gate here in the early stages.
Hey, it's okay. There's a lot of gingerbread cookies and there's a lot of eggnog. So, you know, at least he'll be given something, right?
Absolutely. So it looks like we had 33 drivers scheduled to take the green, 31 officially starting this race, and now it will be 30 that will take the restart green flag, first restart green flag of the evening. The 30 remaining drivers on the lead lap at this point in time. The drivers, Jeremy Jeffries, Dave Robbins, or correction, not Dave Robbins, he actually got through the wreck, but Doug Cady, Robbie Nices, Glenn Harris, Brian Wolf, they all came down pit road, made repairs, they've returned back to the racetrack. We'll keep an eye on them because, you know, they call Michigan, they call Auto Club speedways super speedways because in many ways, the way that the truck handles, it's much like a speedway, but the aerodynamics are very much like a super speedway. And much like we see at a Daytona or a Talladega, if you get damaged, there is a possibility that you could end up losing touch with the draft, with the lead group. And so for those guys back there, especially some of those that took some contact to the front end of their trucks, we'll see if we get into a long green flag run, if they're going to be up to speed, able to keep up with the front runners.
You know, I was more paying attention to the couple of trucks that came in with damage stuff. I don't know if any of the actual trucks that didn't get involved in that actually came down. So if there's any of the trucks that came down that took tires, I don't know if a couple laps are going to make a big difference on tires unless you were behind or in that rack.
That's a great point. And yeah, 3 drivers that were not involved in the wreck did come down under this caution, along with the damaged vehicles. Those 3 were Dave Robbins, Billy Elliser, and Cy Jones. So whether they took tires or not, I'm not certain. Maybe they just topped off the fuel tank, but they did indeed come down pit lane, and it was not for crash damage. It's going to be Jeff Supta who's going to get us back underway with Grant Wesley. They'll rack him up and do it again. Tim Novsker will now be behind in the 3rd position with Sean Prime to his outside in 4th. Dante Ricky, Robert Balcom making up row number 3. Greg Palmer, Dave Melson, Chuck McClure, and Jim Gloud. That's going to be the top 10 as we get ready for our first restart of the night. Already worked an early caution the first 5 laps of this race. Got the early adrenaline, the early jitters out for these guys. We'll see if now they're ready to settle into a long green flag run and if the strategy that Michigan is always known for starts to come into play.
Yeah, with this track, strategy every single time you look at a NASCAR race, or at least you used to. So that's a good point too, Seth. It always seems like this track is known for the strategy calls.
Heading down here to the start-finish line, Flagman has the green flag in hand. He will wave it over the hood of Supta's number 11. Big shot there from Tim Novsker trying to get Supta going into turn number 1, but it's going to be Supta and Grant Wesley dead even going into the first corner.
They're side by side. Looks like the 11 machine's able to edge just a little bit ahead. Like that bottom wants to get a good run going down, but that high side really kicks in off that corner, Seth.
And you saw it right there. Supta had about half a truck length advantage through the center of 1 and 2. Wesley right back alongside down the back straightaway. Neither lane given an inch, and they are stacked up double wide all the way behind them. Got a car going way up high. I think that might be Jim Gloud that could be dropping towards the back as he was taken up topside 3 wide.
Yeah, right. Oh, there's a caution. Caution is out. I don't know where it's at specifically.
And panning through the field and not seeing any driver out of shape. Not certain who this caution was for. There's Cy Jones, Billy Ellis.
I'm gonna check on that real quick so I can break them all.
I'm wondering possibly the 47, Andrew Miller, because he's back quite a ways further
No,
now than where he
he
restarted.
started back. He restarted toward the back there because I was on his truck with Brian Wolf.
See if we can find out what brought out this second caution of the day. Didn't see anybody out of shape at
Oh,
all.
I just got told someone detonated their motor.
Oh. Oh,
I
yep,
brought
be
out
the
the caution.
54 of Robbie Nisus. Mechanical issue for him. That very colorful red, white, and green Christmas-themed 54. Take a look at it here as he was running last car in the field, and there's several things that could have led to this. Could have been a mistiming in upshifting to fourth gear. Could have also been the damage that he sustained from the earlier incident. There you just saw the truck, the front end just bogged down, and around he goes on the back straightaway, and there goes the engine.
Some of these guys are coming back in. So Billy Elliser's in. Brian Wolf, Doug Cady, Jeremy Jeffries is back in. Bob LaChance, Richard Martin, Ronnie Sullins. They're back in on pit road, getting service and tires.
Got some strategy playing out here in the early going, and a lot of times when we have tracks like this, we talk about the strategizing the race from back to front. Would that be something that drivers would be doing here in this race, especially with the fact that there's no points on the line, it's a special event?
Well, if it were me, hypothetically, if I'm starting toward the back, restarting toward the back stuff, I'm just going to go ahead and come on in and get me some fresh Goodyears. You know, I got really maybe a couple spots to lose, but based on it being Michigan and it's, draft reliant, I'd go ahead and come on in and be okay, honestly. I mean, if you're up near the front, you have to pay attention to see what everyone else has done, what the trend is going around you. Because one little slip, you could be back here, and you saw what happened on that first lap.
So we've got 2 cautions here in the first 8 laps of this race. Of course, the second one for a mechanical problem. That's something else that maybe drivers should possibly worry about here as well. You know, we were talking about how the truck's going to handle after you sustain damage. Especially if you get damage to the front end of the race car, you could end up having your water temp, your oil temp start skyrocketing the longer a run goes on, depending on how much damage you sustain. And it could end up being the truck itself that takes you out of this race, not other drivers.
Or an add to insult based on you, and a certain someone else losing gears. When you lose a gear, Seth, going from if you lose second gear or even third gear at one point, shifting quickly into the next gear could just blow your motor completely. You good?
Yeah, and I'm not 100% certain what setup these drivers are running, but I can tell you that, when I was testing out here and everything, at least one of the setups that were here, it was a very long fourth gear. Now, granted, when you're running in a draft with somebody, that doesn't necessarily affect you because you get up to speed a lot quicker running in somebody's slipstream. But, to your point, you have to know where the rev limiters are to be able to shift and make sure that you hit them. Last thing you want to do, much like at a super speedway, you don't want to be at a loss for any of the gears, especially one of the high gears.
I don't know, but everything disappeared from me, Seth, so I don't know if you were still there or not.
Am I working now? Are we good?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Everyone disappeared on my end, and my thing dropped on TeamSpeak, so I don't know if it was me or if it was you or what, or just everyone.
Oh, okay. I believe we are good, at least on this end.
Okay, then it might have just been my connection.
All right. So
sorry about that.
Nope, no problem. We're under pacing here still, so haven't gone back green. I think that we should get the 1 to green signal this time by, and indeed we will. Lights out atop the Chevy Silverado pace truck. So not a whole lot changing in the running order from what we've seen here in the initial start and the restart. It's going to be Supta again with Grant Wesley to his outside. Tim Nosker and Sean Prime In row 2, Dante Ricky, Greg Palmer, Robert Balcom, Dave Melson, Chuck McClure, and Andre Mahjong. That is the top 10. Now, I said that I thought that the car that got kicked to the outside and started fading back was Jim Gloud in the 72. I believe that he was one of the drivers that started fading back, but I think that also another driver that jumped up there and was starting to fade back was, I think it was the 62 of Ron Lucet. So
Well,
both of
there's
them
also
kind of getting saved by the caution because they were going to lose a number of spots.
Well, also at the same time, maybe they went up there intentionally to try to get back. Maybe they were feeling like they were racing a little bit too aggressively with the 3 wide, possibly how close they were racing. Go back there and try to relax and let them sort themselves out, because this is a chance that you can get back up to the front. So who knows, Seth?
Going to be 80 laps to go when we get the green flag once again. 2 drivers already in the garage area. Robbie Nisus with an engine failure and Mark Paglia out after the first caution of the day. 29 drivers left to settle it out as the Pace truck's going to head for pit road. I think, at least so far, he's led the most laps here tonight, as Supta, who has led 8 of the current 10 laps, is about to lead the 9th, and the green flag's out. Actually, he might not lead this lap because Grant Wesley was ready for the drop of the green flag, and he actually led at the line. Might clear Supta into turn 1.
Well, if you don't clear him in turn 1, he's probably going to get that run on that backstretch, Seth, because we've seen that backstretch when you come off that corner, you're able to slide up and get that run. So I'm expecting him to clear.
And he's going to, he's got a little bit of a problem there as he's disappeared, has Grant Wesley. See if he reappears, because that could be pretty treacherous for a lot of guys up here at the front of the field. Knopfsker's going to take advantage as he'll move into second. And Sean Prime, who didn't know where the 88 went, had to kind of back out of the throttle. That drops him back to third. Now Wesley reappears up on the top side, 3 wide, and about to fade outside of the top 10.
That one little moment, Seth, checked a whole bunch of drivers up, meant 3 wide, several rows back behind him, and caused a lot of shuffling back here.
Great job, though, for everybody. And
There's a wreck.
Is that Dave Melson going around? He got a ton of help. And the caution flag is going to fly for the 3rd time here tonight.
And luckily, Nelson's still going, and he's okay, it looks like, and it was only a 1 truck around. So that was thankful on that one, Seth.
Dave Melson was in the 7th position at the time of this 3rd yellow. Let's go back to the back straightaway, and I don't know if this was a round where Grant Wesley was running, so if it was still kind of a little bit of a follow-up to that stack-up or not. No, actually looks like maybe Robert Balcom slid up off of turn 2 just the least little bit and maybe tagged the 38 in the left rear quarter panel. That actually looks a little bit 50-50, to be honest. Looks like Melson may have come down a little bit, Balcom came up a little bit. But to your point, very light contact, a very harmless spin, a lot of runoff here on the back straightaway, so no harm, no foul. The only thing that's a problem for Dave Melson is he lost a ton of track position.
And he's definitely going to have to pit to get some tires.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But luckily, I mean, from where he was running up in the top 10 stuff at that point, and everyone behind him, that was a great job for everyone to avoid that spinning vehicle. When that smoke comes up and that vehicle's spinning around, depending on what you've got on for your sightings, you don't know where they're at. And you don't know if that back end, that edge of that tail is going to hit you, or the front end. Because these hit boxes are very sensitive on these trucks because of how boxy they are, So just one little edge can just tap you and just send you all the way around and just kill your race completely.
It's interesting you bring up that point, because just prior to that caution coming out, I was going to ask you, we talk about at super speedways locking up the bumpers, trying to push the driver in front of you. We even saw Tim Knopfsker back on the first restart try and help propel Jeff Supta up to the race lead into turn 1. I mean, with that being said, how anxious would these drivers be to try and lock up bumpers to produce speed? Is that even possible here, especially in the closing stages?
Michigan, I would believe it'd be possible, Seth. And honestly, you really want to have your friend or your buddy on your side or close around you by the time we get to the end of this race, obviously, for that. But based on what I'm seeing with all these restarts, they're all over the place. I mean, you get that inside line that gets a huge run, and then that outside line gets that run off the corner, right? So we really haven't gone long enough to see if the draft is going to be really effective as we think it might be, or at least I think it might be.
Robert Balcom electing to stay out here. See if he comes to pit road this time, because there is a system here in Rolling Thunder Gaming where the car, or in this case truck, that is responsible for bringing out the caution comes down pit lane on the second lap of pace, and it looks like he's coming down pit road. So that's going to turn the race lead over to the 43 of Richard Martin.
Good old DMR up front now, Seth.
Yeah, and the strategy worked out for him because he was on pit road under the last caution. Now with all the leaders coming down this time, he's going to gain all the track position with staying out, and he'll be the one to lead us back to green here sometime past lap 15.
While we're under pacing here, I wanted to bring up a point. I like some of these schemes that I'm looking at. I see a couple of Grinches on the hood. Brian Wolf has the Grinch on his, like the big old face of the Grinch. Someone else has the Grinch card too. They got Brian Wolf has Olaf on the back saying Merry Christmas, and has Mickey and Minnie, and I think Pluto on the deck lid. You see any specific ones that stand out to you today?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of red and green. Andre Mahjong with a very nice looking Christmas scheme. There's Ronald Lucey, John Prime, of course, there as well.
Milt Surratt.
Seeing a lot of drivers with the neon green for the Christmas green. A lot of times you see the darker green with the red, white, and green. But I gotta say, I like the neon green combination with the red and white as well.
Oh gosh, you're giving ideas, right? You're gonna give ideas to a whole bunch of your followers now.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn Harris, I mean, automatically a Christmas scheme, red, white, and green with Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
Here's Brian Wolf's Grinch Chevrolet.
Oh. Hey, get a good look on the back end of Robert Balcom's truck if you can for a second. I like what he's got here.
We can find him here.
That's funny.
Oh, there you go. Christmas Story reference. Nice.
Throwing it back old school, isn't he?
Yep. The only thing that's missing is the stocking lamp somewhere on that car. Or that truck. I'm sorry. Whenever it's a truck race, I have such difficulty calling them trucks. I don't know why. I still instinctively call them trucks.
And you know that movie's going to be on over and over and over and over.
Yes, it will.
They always do that every year. Anyway, well, so the caution lights look like they're off. It's lap 16 of 90, so we're going to be going back to green on lap 17. We have the leader of DMAR up here, right? So now the question is, with him staying out, I can hear some of these people up here clutching too. Just saying, some of these guys up here are clutching already.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially with the fact that we've had 3 early cautions, there's no crystal ball, no way of knowing which way this race is going to go in the second half. We could see a couple more cautions here in the next 10-15 laps. We could start to see them go green from here to the checkered flag, so got to prepare yourself for all occasions, as Richard Martin's going to lead us back to green. Jim Cloud is now up in second. Grant Wesley, who had that connection problem, settled out. He's going to restart third. Andre Mahjong fourth. Supta's now going to be back in the 6th position alongside of Andre Charest in 5th. Ron Lucey, Tim Nofsker, Sean Prime, and Greg Palmer. That is the top 10 leading us back to green. 29 drivers remain, all 29 on the lead lap, and lap 17 goes on the board.
It's going to be interesting, Seth, to see how aggressive Robert Balcom drives being back there in the 28th position, to see how quickly he'll get up to the front.
Be interesting to see about Jeff Supta as well, because he's, for the most part, experienced a lot of clean air in the early stages of this race. Now the furthest that he's run all race, back in the 6th position. So how anxious will he be to get back up to the front?
Back here around the 25th position, they're all single file up front. They're all double file, double file. Looks like they're thinking about 3 wide up here.
Yeah, as Andre Mahjong looking to the inside of Jim Gloud, who went really wide through 3 and 4. Grant Wesley gets the left rear quarter panel of Richard Martin, using the side draft down the front straightaway, going to dive it into turn number 1. So now Martin on the top side, Wesley on the inside line, and Wesley right down on that yellow line.
I see a twitch up here out of someone. It looks like it might be Supta.
He's going to actually dive down to the inside of Jim Gloud, so giving a lot of room there with the potential side-by-side. Yep, there you see it right there into 3 and 4. So got to be very careful how closely he races drivers around him. Andre Charest, nice run right here early on for him in the 75 truck. He's to the outside now of Gloud. That's the battle for 5th. Ahead of them, Novsker and Richard Martin. They're mixing it up for the final spot in the podium.
Absolutely. I mean, these guys are doing really good up here that, you want to make notables, but some of these other notables that we usually see up front, and may I key Dante Ricky back here, 24th right now, but we've seen him be back there before and come forward, so I'm not sure if this is a strategic design by Dante to do this. I mean, we've seen him do this before, but I don't know if you would want to be back there with the way these guys are racing, because they're starting to get themselves filed out now.
Getting single filed at least the top 5, and as soon as I say that, Charest takes a look to the inside of Richard Martin for the 4th spot. Behind them, you've got Greg Palmer and Jim Gloud. They're mixing it up for what would unofficially be the 6th position, but Grant Wesley right now has his hands full. Andre Mahjong to the back bumper, to the inside. 27 car wants the lead going into 3.
Is he going to be able to get it? That bottom's actually been really beneficial. Looks like he's going to be able to get it at the line. Grant's trying. Oh, he's going to get a side draft here. The non-existent side draft on this game, right? But, yeah, it looks like Grant still got him at the line, though, Seth. So, I don't know whether it's because he didn't have anyone right on his back bumper of that, or whether Grant just had a better exit.
Maybe the 88 and the 088 now 1-2, and it's kind of interesting because in the tally challenge we see the tactic where the car on the inside tries to force their way up a little bit into the middle groove, and we'll see even 2 cars share side by side the middle lane at Talladega. I was watching early on that restart, Tim Novsker kind of trying to force his way up into that middle line despite entering into turn 1 on the inside line. So it looks like a lot of drivers at this point in time, they're fighting for the middle.
Well, I don't know if all the grip on this track is exactly in the middle, though. So it looks like they really will now on the entry and the exit.
Oh,
but
3 trucks in the wall. Mahjong as well as Palmer and Supta. I think Palmer followed Mahjong and Supta followed Palmer, and all 3 of them slapped the wall off of the second corner. 3 wide now, and there you see the right side damage on Palmer Chevrolet.
Remind you of any racing that you and I have done recently?
Vaguely. It's like a bunch of sheep. Where one goes, the other one goes. But I think that's attributed to that aero tightness that we knew was going to be happening here. And I don't know if it's necessarily too early, but would these drivers be starting to experience that tire heat in the right front as Supta slammed the wall that time? That wasn't even a brush.
Well, they're on lap 23 coming into 24, Seth. Remember, it takes about 11 to 12 laps for it to work in for that yellow wear to start coming into effect. So with that being said, we still got a couple more laps that they can push it hard. But I actually wouldn't advise it. I'd rather, you have people like Dante back here just taking it nice and easy. Grant's trying to drive away with everything. But what I'm trying to figure out is, do you know, and I'm just asking, do you know if Robert Balcom has any damage? Because he's been able to get up to the pack, and then he just falls back. I wonder if he's got any damage back here.
I don't believe he does. There was the contact between himself and Richard Martin, but it was slight, if any at all. Richard Martin went for a harmless spin, or correction, rather not Richard Martin, make that Dave Melson. And been able to work his way up to 16th. I think Balcom might be just riding for the moment, biding his time, because of course he was hit with the EOL penalty for bringing out that caution, and so I think that for the moment he's just not wanting to force the issue.
Alright, I was just curious if he had any damage or not, because I was just looking at how he keeps not being able to be right there in the field, and just it's uncharacteristic, you know.
But Jeremy Jeffries, a couple of guys that got involved in the first caution of the day have been able to start working their way up to the front. John Godfrey in the 7-Eleven, who made the initial contact with Robbie Nisus, he's been able to work his way up to 14th. And right now, Jeremy Jeffries is battling for the 10th position.
And Sean Prime is going for the lead underneath Tim Nosker, at least trying to, and he's got Chuck McClure right behind him, Seth.
Nosker had just gotten around Grant Wesley, left the door open, and Sean Prime more than willing to stick his foot in there, as those two going to be side by side going into turn 3. Chuck McClure enters into the mix. There's Josh Metallic, the Caterpillar Chevy Silverado there as well, moving into the 5th position.
3 wide back here. They settle it back to 2 wide. No Godfrey still stuck, and look like Andre Terrest almost got a little bit of the wall coming over to the start finish line.
There you saw no bump, no push, but as close as you could
Grant
get the bumpers.
got the wall. Grant just hit the wall in turn 1. He went right up against that wall, so trying to draft off of an officer.
Yeah, you can see that scrubbed off some speed there as well for the 88. He's starting to drop back. Richard Martin picks up a spot. Andre Mahjong looks to pounce with that loss of momentum on Wesley's machine, and now that could have been attributed to the fact that a lot of times in Michigan you want to enter as high up against the wall as you possibly can to drive it deep into the first corner, and Wesley may have gone up just a little bit too high. Now Novsker up in no man's land, and Sean Prime's going to jump up there to the top side. Leaves about 2-3 lanes open for Chuck McClure to go on by for the top position, and he's going to clear before they even get out of 2.
Well, they need to start being very careful, because now we're going to 10 to 11 laps in this run, and that's where that tire fall starts happening, Seth. And with them running as hard as they're on that bottom, going side by side, all it takes is one little bobble to get really tight and push up. That's all it's going to take.
There's no telling what the counter might be up to, but we've at least got some footage here on this run of about 5-6 drivers that have now brushed the wall. Add Tim Novsker to that list, as he got a bit of the outside retaining wall off of turn number 2. A lot of drivers really experiencing some aero tightness in this one, and the bad news for them is, as this run continues, it's not going to get better, it's only going to get worse.
Absolutely, and then the strategy comes into play. Are you going to pit for tires, or are you going to run it all the way out on fuel? Are you going to open that caution to come save you or not? Because when you get those fresh tires, Seth, you're going to be able to pull away and be on that run, but at the same time, when they come in, they're going to have that fresh rubber. So by the time it cycles around, you're probably going to pull back even.
Josh Metallic thought about forcing the issue 3 wide. Now he's side by side with McClure for second. Sean Prime for the moment in command of the lead, but Metallic going to pull alongside of him here through the center of 1 and 2. He's got Richard Martin for a drafting partner, and as we now settle in a long green flag run, it looks like a couple of drivers are slightly off the pace, have lost the lead group. The 7 of Cy Jones and the 26 of Billy Elliser. Both of them are running about 6.5, 7 seconds behind the race leader.
And we got one driver way up here. It looks like it's Andre Terrest, all the way up here next to the wall, kind of backing off, falling back real quickly. I didn't see him hit the wall.
That's Rodney Sullins, the 38. Bob LaChance, the 51, going on by. Now 3 wide is Robert Balcom trying to work his way up there. And Josh Metallic now going to try and get his first lap lead of the day, as he's going to clear Sean Prime for that top position. They're going to be single file 1-2. Whoa! Little bit of a bump there, maybe a little late from Sean Prime to Josh Metallic going into 3. You saw the back end of the 39 get a little wiggly.
And that's what's great about this. They're all friends here. They've raced around each other so long. They know this isn't a championship. That they know this isn't a points race, and they know this isn't anything big on the line or nothing. So they just come out here and have fun with each other. And honestly, I can bet you in that channel they're laughing and cutting up about it.
Yeah, that's the thing about special events, isn't it? It completely changes the mentality and the racing style sometimes of the drivers, knowing that there's no points, there's no championship on the line, just out there to have fun, have a good time, and it completely changes the complexity of what type of a race you see as well, which is why the special events are so much fun to be able to observe and watch because you know, to your point, you know that everybody, the situation and the mentality, it's light, it's relaxed, everybody's just here to have some fun. There's no pressure of trying to hoist a championship trophy when all is done. There's no pressure of trying to get the maximum points. It's just go out there and maybe even the mentality of bring home the trophy or bring home the steering wheel kind of thing.
Now, I do want to point out something, stuff. It seems like there's a little bit more tightness happening off of turn 2 than there is anywhere else. It looks like Andre Marjan got a little bit loose, a little bit tight off that corner as well, going to the tri-oval. But I got word that they're getting close to the end of their run for fuel. So the people who have saved tires early on, Seth, I'm wondering who they might be and if they're actually going to be able to make up a lot of ground here toward the end of this run.
It's also going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's a couple of trucks that I can
see. Jeremy.
A couple of trucks that I can see going a little bit further on fuel than everybody else that came to pit road under the last 2 cautions. Jeremy Jeffries, right there in that 8, is one of those drivers. Andrew Miller, he could go a little bit further. Brian Wolf can go a little bit further, as could Doug Katie. They all kind of topped off the fuel tank under the last yellow. Would they risk staying out a couple of extra laps, maybe try and catch a caution, or would we see them just throw that strategy out the window and come down pit road with other drivers maybe a couple laps sooner than they would need to?
I would consider them coming down when everyone pretty much comes down. Dimar is way down at the bottom here. Looks like he's pitting this time.
I think you are correct, as Richard Martin had actually stayed out under the last 2 cautions. So he is going to be coming down pit lane for the second time today.
You gotta watch that barrier here.
Where's Michigan rank as far as like a tough pit road to get onto? Is it easy? Is it difficult? Is it right in the middle?
Flashbacks to when I was a 9, if you want to count that, when we would race early on NR.
Oh, someone slammed the wall. Sorry to cut you off. That was Andre Mahjong. He clobbered the wall, and he's going to collect up another machine.
And caution is out.
That's Ronald Lucet in the 62. Caution's going to fly for the 4th time here tonight.
That's a break for Dimar. And a whole bunch of these other guys.
Was already on pit road and getting service when this caution came out, and should be able to return back out onto the racetrack on the lead lap. We're going to have to go back and look, but man, that 27, it's almost like it never turned off the corner.
And did he already retire?
He did indeed. Hard impact there for Andre Mahjong, and Ronald Lucet, wrong place, wrong time, swept in with it as well. Go back and take a look. I think it was just the 27 getting tight off the corner. I don't think there was any contact that was made with him.
I'm watching it too. No, it was Chuck McClure moved up just a little bit. Got tight on the bottom, moved up a little bit, tapped the front part of his the 27 truck, and that's all it took. Like we alluded to it earlier, Seth, about tire wear and being able to be pushed up, getting tight off that corner, especially coming to the end of the run off of turn 2. And that looks exactly what just happened to me. Chuck McClure just got a little bit tight, moved up, and you get the point. Just contact, that's all it took.
Right on board here with Andre Mahjong in the 27 car, 27 truck. Watch how, look there to driver's left, Chuck McClure, tight off the corner, up and into Andre Mahjong, and reason Mahjong out of the race, you just saw it with this onboard. I mean, that was a significant hit with the right front to the outside wall.
Ronald had a really good view of it. That's how I was able to see what happened on that one side.
We'll see if we can go inside the cockpit of the 62, who was also swept up into this. Now, his contact as well would have been to the front end of the truck, but he did not really spin down towards the inside wall, so he might still be okay. This onboard will obviously give us an idea of just how heavy an impact he made. There's Mahjong down across his nose. And the one really cool thing about the in-car here with the cockpit is you see the hand movement on the steering wheel. Never stops driving that truck to try and make sure that he can direct it away from that inside wall, use all of that run up on the apron of the back straightaway.
Well, they're all continuing except for the 27, unfortunately. So at least Ronald's continuing, and Chuck, I don't think has much damage from that contact, in my opinion. Looked like it was just part of that hitbox issue when you got tight and moved up, you know? So I don't think Chuck's got hardly any damage off of that.
Brett McClure will probably be coming to pit road this time. Looks like he's taking responsibility for the caution coming out. Now, in the case of Richard Martin, we thought that maybe that caution was going to catch him a break so he could stay on the lead lap and maybe cycle around to the race lead. He was trapped a lap down when the caution came out, but
Ooh.
only car one lap down, so he would get the free pass under this
Okay.
yellow flag. So still a lucky for him in that regard, but doesn't gain him quite the track position that we thought it was going to, should he have stayed on the lead lap. So when the lights go out, the pace car with 1 to green, we'll be seeing him go around, and Sean Prime will resume the front row.
Well, I do want to point out something, Seth. We're closing in on halfway. We're only a few laps away from the halfway point, and we finally got, I mean, we didn't get the green flag pit stops, unfortunately, except for DMR, but we had a nice little run there. What did you see in that run that you can use furthermore toward the end of this, now that you've been able to see a little bit of drafting, a little bit of play back and forth?
You're going to make passes, make them quick, make them early, because that truck is going to be a handful later on, and it's going to be very difficult to make passes. I mean, we saw even drivers kind of pushing up from the inside to the middle line on the fresh tires. So I think if you're drivers that are mid-pack, I'm not necessarily certain you can wait to make a charge to the front. I think you got to maybe go now, position yourself for that final pit stop, because it looks like to me, just based off the calculations and the fuel numbers we were given, it's a one stop from here to the finish now.
Can I bother you about something else that you really don't like to do?
Okay.
Okay, so just for the heck of it, because it's something fun we can do while we're under caution here, I want to ask you, name your top 2 drivers to watch to actually come away with something here. I'm gonna go on a limb and say I'm actually looking at Rodney Sullins. He's been quiet. He's been in the mid-pack. He hasn't made a lot of noise or anything, but he's still right there. That's one driver. And the second underdog I'm going to look at is, I shouldn't say underdog, technically, but I'm going to say Josh Metallic, because he moved his way up front, and he's just been up at the front since he's been able to get up there. He's stayed up there constant now.
Well, that long green flag run gave me an idea of who's able to preserve their tires and have consistent speed. So I'm going to go with 2 guys that have had some early issues and been able to come back from it, gaining a lot of spots under that last green flag run. I like the 038 of Dave Melson. Had that spin with Robert Balcom. He's been able to work his way now up to this restart of 5th. And Jeremy Jeffries, he was involved, didn't take time, was involved in the first caution of the evening. He's up there in the 6th position. Now, granted, they've been able to use a little bit of pit strategy to get themselves up there, but they have made up a chunk of time as well and a chunk of positions under green flag conditions. So those are 2 very fast trucks on the long run, and now they've got themselves up here inside of the top 10. Sean Prime going to be the one to lead us back to green, with Grant Wesley to his outside in 2nd. Metallic will be 3rd, with Nofsker in 4th. Melson and Jeffries going to make up row number 3, and they're followed by John Godfrey, Robert Balcom, Brian Wolf. Actually, correction. Let me go back to 6th. That's where you find Jeffries, then Dante Ricky, John Godfrey, Robert Balcom, and Brian Wolf. Missed one of those drivers there inside the top 10 for this upcoming restart. We've got 28 drivers still in this race. Richard Martin getting the free pass back on the lead lap. So all 28 drivers still on the same lap as leader Robert Balcom, as it's going to be officially 50 laps left to go here in the RTG. Happy Holidays 200. Wesley tried to time that restart again there on that top side. I don't know if it's going to work for him this time.
Did you see Sean Prime? He went right to the middle on that restart instead of way at the bottom. He went right to the middle to try to pin Wesley a little bit higher up, so he got that run down to get that run off.
Might have also been trying to take that middle line on the entry of turn 1 away, put Wesley up in the top groove where there's not quite nearly as much grip.
Grant Wesley's going to take that lead back, Seth. He doesn't want to give it up. He's just going to sit right there on that high side. Looks like that. Are they actually running the middle groove where Grant is technically?
Yeah, I think it's almost kind of a deja vu from the Tally Challenge. They're kind of sharing that middle line. You can kind of see as they go here into turn 1, bit of a dark gray strip there, and I think that's where they're trying to kind of share that space on the inside and the outside line. Now it's going to be Sean Prime down to that yellow line. A couple of drivers try and hook that bottom, but they don't quite seem to be able to get the exit off of turn 2 like they want to. I think that's why that middle line's been so prevalent.
And meanwhile, back here at the back, Chuck McClure's trying to make up some spots here based on being... Oh, someone's on the apron. That was Andre Cheris. He hit the apron, bounced really high up there. Dante Ricky's going to take advantage of it, and looks like Supta might have a little bit of damage, Seth. Not really sure.
He
might be good for my
outside wall. Oh, and he's going to get Andre Cheris. That's going to bring out a caution. Caution's going to fly. We also got Blaine Dolan, up into the outside wall, and the yellow flag is out once more here at Michigan. And initially looked like we might have had a little bit of netcode there. We can actually say that here on NR, but looks like there might have been a little bit of space between Supta and Andre Cheris, but Cheris getting the worst end of that one. Caution flies once more, and we are now going to get this upcoming restart in the second half of this race.
Yeah, on that last run before I mentioned anything, I saw, like I said, Andre hit the apron a little bit and bounced way up. And then when that happened, everyone started closing in on him, lost the momentum. And then from what I saw, Supta was racing side by side with him. I mean, there could have been a little bit of a twitchiness or something. So, because remember, Supta did have that problem earlier.
Did indeed, and I
And
believe
when
he
that
was fighting
happens,
some right side damage as well. I believe he got the wall earlier on. Andre Cheris going to be dealing with the same issue now as he pancaked the right side of his number 75.
Whoa! Supta just ran in the back of... What in the world, Seth?
Oh, we got a stack up here on the back
No,
straightaway.
Supta ran in the back of someone.
Take a look and see what happened there.
Yeah, Supta ran in the... It looks like Supta ran in the back of Elliser, I think?
Yeah, it was. Wow.
Yeah, and if you look at his speed never changed. It was 88 all the way through. So I'm wondering if he had a problem with his gas pedal being stuck. That does happen from time to time on NR.
Could very well have. And that's going to be further damage to the 11. I mentioned the fact that he is the defending winner of this event back last year in 2020, and of course came into this race as well as the pole sitter. So we were looking at him as someone to possibly be able to double down.
All right, from what I understood from that moment for Supta when he made the contact with Billy Elliser, from what I was told, his screen went out, basically meaning that, you know, like a pop-up or something, his screen froze or something. So, and that caused it, Seth, for him to stay at 88 all the way through. It wasn't a throttle issue on his wheel or anything. It was just, you know, one of those freezing things on his thing for a moment.
Tough break there for
I really like that
Supta,
speed,
and also tough break there, a little bit of extra rear end damage on Billy Elliser, who looks like is already off the pace based on what we saw in the last green flag run. And the car that we're looking at here is the current race leader, Blaine Dolan. He was involved in the initial wreck with Andre Cheris over in turn 2, and he also got a little bit of that follow-up wreck with Supta and Elliser, but he is going to stay out, at least looks like here for the moment. He might be coming down pit road, actually. No lucky dog under this caution. All 28 drivers are on the lead lap, and indeed Dolan is coming down pit road. Cy Jones, Andre Cheris, a couple of others coming down behind him. Supta's coming down also. That should be turning the race lead back over to Grant Wesley. It's interesting, we were talking about the drivers to keep an eye on here, and looking here in the YouTube chat, got a couple of fans of some respective drivers here. Blaine Dolan's got a fan here in the chat, as well as 23 of Doug Hulick has a fan here as well. Let us know who you think are the drivers to watch in this one here tonight at Michigan, who you think will be going to victory lane, or just let us know who you're rooting for here tonight, because we've still got a good chunk of the field that all look like they're up to speed, and this is now where the strategy becomes more and more important in the second half of this race.
Absolutely. And if you're just tuning in, I mean, we've had a really kind of what would you say, an exciting kind of aggressive slash crazy first part, and then we got a nice little run in, and right now 46, about to be 47. We're already at the halfway point of the RTG Happy Holidays 200 here at Michigan Next Television. And honestly, Seth, it's been pretty decent here. And you're talking about strategy. I was going to ask you in a moment about if you know you can make it on fuel to the end of this race, okay? Like, for example, if we got like 25 or 24 to go, okay? Would you go all the way, or would you come in for tires, knowing that your tires are going to give up at the end of the run?
Now, is this including a couple of possible cautions between now
No.
and then?
No.
No. Then no, I'm staying out. I'm staying out because I want that track position. Now, if it came down with a caution coming out or something, then I think I'd come down pit road because I don't want those fresh tires behind me. But if we're going green from here to the finish, I'm staying out no matter what if I'm up at the front of the field. I am not giving up that track position, because we saw late in the run of that long green flag run moments ago just how difficult it was for drivers, even up inside of the top 5, top 10, to be able to make and complete passes.
Well, at the same time, if you stay out and a couple of other people stay out with you, and they start battling for position with you to get more aggressive, we've seen how that bottom just pushes you right up. And we've also seen some of these drivers hit the wall coming off the corner next to that high side.
Well, the complexion of the top 10 has changed quite a bit here from what we saw in the early stages, as Wesley's going to elect the top side for this restart. Dave Melson has worked his way back up to second. John Godfrey will be third, with Rodney Sullins fourth. Andrew Miller now up in the fifth position. Greg Palmer will line up sixth. Tim Nofsker is seventh. Milt Surratt makes his first appearance inside the top 10. He's in eighth. Josh Metallic ninth. And Jeremy Jeffries is going to complete the top 10. Sean Prime will be 11th, Robert Balcom in 12th, 13th, Glenn Harris, Dante Ricky in 14th, 15th, Richard Martin. Bob LaChance will be 16th, Brian Wolf 17th, 18th is Jim Glaude, Doug Cady 19th, and Ronald Lucet is going to complete the top 20. Rest of the drivers on the lead lap and running: 21st, Doug Hulick, Chuck McClure in 22nd, 23rd, Dave Robbins, Andre Charest is 24th, 25th, Billy Elliser, Blaine Donlin will be in 26th, and Jeff Supta will be in the 27th position. Cy Jones is the last driver in the field in the 28th position. All 28 on the lead lap. Going to be less than 40 laps to go here, I do believe. Nope, correction. It's going to be less than 50 laps to go. It's going to officially be a total of 43 laps left in this race, as Grant Wesley, who seemed to love that top side here on restarts, is going to get us back underway.
Let's see if anyone's actually prepared for him this time, Seth.
Well, Rodney Sullins would be a no. He really was slow there and is getting shoved by the 022 of Greg Palmer. Grant Wesley on that top side. No drop to, oh, Melson pushing way up the track. Wesley hard on the brakes to try to avoid
someone on the inside
Godfrey
around.
spinning on
No
the
caution.
apron on the back straightaway. It is not a yellow flag. We're still green.
Nope. It was underneath the apron, Seth.
Yep, was checking on those caution lights to see if they were yellow or if they were still green. And to your point, with all that extra run up on the back straightaway, off the racing surface, the spin for John Godfrey, we stay under the green flag, and Andrew Miller, after all that, now powers the Powerade Chevrolet to the front.
It's rigged.
It is.
I couldn't help it. And I do apologize if I sound kind of off. I'm dealing with a very issue with being sick, so I do apologize to anyone who's listening. I'm not kind of jumpy or crazy. There's a caution, Seth, back here, turn 3.
Yellow flag is out. Big hit
even
for Richard
more.
Martin.
More
gracious.
drivers coming into it.
That's McClure, Elliser. Dave Robbins was in the middle of that. Andre Charest in the 75. It's a truck that's hidden in the 5 feet of snow,
Hey,
Ron Lucet.
that just saved Godfrey.
Yeah, it did. I don't know if Godfrey hit the wall or not, but definitely saves him from all that track position he lost. And good job by Ron Lucet, trapped in that snowbank to be able to drive his way out.
And to answer your question, Godfrey never hit anything because I just checked.
No, I'm wondering if maybe, just maybe, at least a portion of that wreck might have involved Grant Wesley, who's all the way back here in the 22nd position.
Wesley was involved,
Oh,
yes,
that's
but
it.
I don't know what started it.
Yeah, and remember, he had ended up having the contact with Melson that sent him up into the wall, putting him back in that position. So let's try and see if we can unpeel this onion of everything that took place from pretty much turn 2 all the way down to the back straightaway. We'll start first with the contact for the race lead between Dave Melson, Grant Wesley, and also look at the spin by John
Demar.
Godfrey that did not bring out the caution flag.
The wreck started with Demar.
Nelson gets the apron there into Grant. Oh, and then John Godfrey looked like he thought the 88 might be coming back down the racetrack and turns hard left. Might have been the apron that got him that shot the car around the way it did. We'll take another look here. Watch as the contact is made between Melson and Wesley. Godfrey turns the car down here to the left. Is there further contact? No, there's no contact between himself and Melson. Might have gotten those left sides down in the flat. Might have gotten the 7-Eleven a little bit loose there. Good news is he didn't hit the wall. The wreath on the front grille still intact.
Lol.
And now let's take a look and see what happened the following lap that
Got
did bring out the caution.
where you want us to look at to start with is Richard Martin and Brian Wolf, because those two are basically the reason why there was a big jam pack up here.
Would have been around the 11th, 12th position at the time. Here it is, going into 3. Boy, that's hard to tell there, whether or not Wolf was to the back bumper of the 43 or if there was some space. Now Martin, the one that goes around, kind of gets saved with the fact that he spins, because then we saw absolute calamity up in turn 4 with more drivers getting swept up in an even bigger wreck.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like a chain reaction, almost like an accordion effect, so.
I think it might have been Chuck McClure, the one that got out of shape in that chain reaction wreck.
Yep. Goes down, touches another driver. I think it was Ronald Luzier, it might have been. And then comes back up in front of traffic, gets Andre Terrest.
23 of Doug Hulick was involved in that one as well. There's Elliser, there's Andre Charest. We mentioned the fact that Grant Wesley was involved in this one as well after being put back in traffic with the contact the lap before. We'll take a look and see how extensive the damage is to his number 88.
Was that Ron Luzier that got involved too with that?
Yes, it was. Yep, I believe he was the one that was down the apron, as you described there, that got into McClure.
And then McClure got up into the Andre Trust, yeah, okay. I just want to double check that.
Dave Robbins going around the outside there in the 96. He got a piece of the incident also. The caution out for the 6th time here tonight. And as we continue to get these late cautions, it's going to make it more and more of a strategy call for these drivers of whether to come down pit road or not, because you kind of alluded to it. It's about the numbers game. If you stay out, how many drivers are going to stay out with you? How much of a buffer, how much of a cushion do you have back to the fresh tires? Or if you come to pit road, how many drivers come down with you and are going to be behind you? How many drivers are going to be ahead of you on the restart that you're going to have to get by? So it's an interesting rock and hard place type scenario, no matter what choice you make in these late cautions.
And right now, Seth, we can go at least what I was told, roughly about 24 given laps, right? Some of these guys I'm on board with going through the field, they're clutching. they know they want to try to save a little bit, but still, there's about, what, 38 laps to go?
No
They're
way
going
they
to
can
definitely have
make
to
it.
come in and make it one time.
Yep.
Only question is, do you want to milk it all the way, or do you want to come in when the whole wheel comes in so you don't lose too much track?
That's the big thing, especially in late stage races as well, that also makes a decision like that so important. Because if you come down pit road early, if you are taking on tires, you're going to get the benefit of 2, maybe 3 very good outlaps with the fresh rubber against the older tires. But if you come to pit road late, do you have enough laps to be able to take advantage of those outlaps and get back the track position that you lost when you were out there on the old Goodyears? So I think it really just comes down to crunching numbers and figuring out what kind of lap times you can turn consistently, and that plays into what call you make.
Alright, intermediate wise, Seth. You've raced with me for a long time. You know for a fact I try to stay out as late as possible, and I hope that caution comes out, so that caution saves me so I can come down pit road and be able to be up front, right?
Right.
I don't see that happening. I think if you come down late, you give up a lot more.
Tim Knopf's going to be the one to lead us back to green with Josh Metallic, Milt Surratt, Sean Prime, Rodney Sullins. That is your top 5, followed by Robert Balcom, Glenn Harris, Jim Glaude, Dante Ricky, and Bob LaChance. Could we be seeing our final caution of the day? Could we be going green to the end? Will we see another yellow flag mix up the strategy even more? We are now closing in on 30 laps remaining.
Oh, there's
here.
a wreck! Oh my goodness. What in
Another
the
big
world?
pile up. Say Donlin. Oh, there's even more down here scattered into turn 1. That's Dante Ricky. Dave Melson's up and on his side.
I don't know where that started. I'm gonna go look and see where that started from, because right when we got that green, they all, it looked like someone didn't go, or someone, either someone didn't go, Seth, or someone blew a gear or something.
Melson's engine is smoking. I don't know if the flip we just saw there is the result of that, or if maybe he might have blown an engine. This would have started up inside the top 10 because Dante Ricky was involved and he restarted in the 9th spot.
Okay, from what I'm looking at here, Seth, it looks like, who is that? Rodney Sullins went down for the apron, and when he did that, I guess it caused Glenn Harris, Dante Ricky to all kind of scatter, and Doug Cady, and that's what started everything. I don't know exactly what happened specifically here.
Do we think that Rodney Sullins might be down a gear? Because remember on the last restart, or maybe it was the restart prior to that, when he was restarting up in the 4th position, he didn't go.
He didn't get going behind Grant like you said.
He might be
Or
down a
alongside
gear
Grant.
or something. Here it is again.
Dave Robbins has left, by the way.
Oh yeah, that car never went. That car just bogged down and never went. So there's something untoward going on with the 38 of Rodney Sullins for sure. You saw the stack up. Now Sullins is able to drive away from the aftermath, but we'll show you what happened there. And this was the car that the truck that started in 5th position, collected up drivers from about 9th place on back. Glenn Harris is the one behind Rodney Sullins. And then
Dante Ricky is behind him.
Doug Cady, Supta, Melson up and into the air.
Grant got smacked in the back pretty hard and kind of squeezed, but he was able to get through it. Barely, but he got damaged, I'm sure.
That is day over for
a lot of drivers.
He's in the garage area now. Dave Robbins is in the garage area.
Nelson's coming in with his engine damage, and he's getting service, Seth.
Another truck that I saw there as well, I think that was actually Katie that was smoking, leaving the scene of the accident. But take a look here at this other angle we've got, and just look how there's just nowhere for these guys to go. Everybody is hard on the throttle. It's the green flag for a restart, so everybody is in go mode. Nobody's slowing down, and a lot of trucks going up and into the air. Glenn Harris caught some air in the 08. A lot of drivers sliding down to that 5 feet of snow on the front straightaway and down the entrance of turn number 1. Undoubtedly the biggest wreck we've had so far here tonight.
That's why we say stick around. It only gets more exciting.
And that's also what makes it interesting with, some of these drivers that we haven't maybe talked about here tonight. They're sticking around, just logging laps and waiting for this chaos to take place, maybe planning on a race of attrition and
And
try and
and you
salvage
notice
themselves a top 10, maybe even a win if the
and you
cards fall
notice
right.
one of the drivers that were in the back most of the whole beginning of the first half of this race randomly gets up to the lead, leads a few laps, caution comes out, and guess what? Look, Andrew Miller is again leading, and he was at the back for the first half of this race, technically most of the time.
Couple of drivers that were kind of using the at the back strategy that have now worked their way up there to the front. You could also throw Milt Surratt into that mix. He had a good qualifying effort, but
Robert Bauer.
faded back. Yep, Robert Balkin working his way back up there to the front. Bob Chance in the 51. I'm not 100% certain. I think he might have gotten through that wreck. If not, he got through with minimal damage. It's actually right on board with him here. See what he saw. He's now up here inside of the top 10 as well. So, yeah, it's a good half dozen drivers that we really haven't talked a whole lot about here tonight. And that's not because they've been running bad. It's because they've been just basically making sure they preserve their stuff for what's been happening here in the last 10 laps or so. And there you see action. Jim Loud and Bob Chance both on the outside line were fortunate to get around Rodney Sellens for the contact and the wreck over in turn 1. And it looks like the assumption is correct. An engine gearbox is the reason for Rodney Sellens taking his truck back to the garage area. So whether or not the caution prior to this one, the restart we saw also played into some gear issues or not, definitely this one being some mechanical problems for the 38. It takes him out of the race along with Doug Cady, Dave Robbins, and Ronald Lucet. They join Andre Mahjong, Robbie Nisus, and Mark Paglia in the garage area as we're still waiting on the pace truck to turn on its lights and give us that 1 to green signal.
And that sucks when you know that you've been up near the front and just been biding your time, and then something like that has to happen. You can't really help much of anything at that point. One of those random engine failures, and you just can't point the finger at anyone on that stuff. It happens to all of us, especially me sometimes. But another driver I want to point out that we haven't really talked about, that 022 Greg Palmer sitting right there.
Great performance for him here tonight. He has not led a lap yet this evening, but going to restart in the second position alongside of Andrew Miller and has kept his nose clean here this evening, which at least up to this point has seemed to be the main storyline because we've had a lot of different drivers up here at the front and they've had incidents in some way, shape, or form. Dave Melson was up here, Robert Balcom was up here, Jeremy Jeffries was up here. Grant Wesley was up here. We've seen all these drivers. Supto was up here. We've seen them kind of fade to the back, whether it be a spin, whether it be some contact that sends them to the back, whether it be maybe a strategy call that's put them back in traffic. There's been a lot of drivers that have taken turns to the front that have then kind of faded to mid-pack and had to work their way back up. And that story is still being written as we're still going to have a good handful of laps left to go. If we get the 1 to green signal this time, we'll be restarting with a total of 31 laps remaining in this race. So over 60 miles.
We still got a handful of contenders up here that can make it exciting. And I always want to point out, how a lot of people say nothing is said and done until that checkered flag waves, right? How many times have we seen something awesome or crazy or something random happen at the end of these races, stuff that makes it even more exciting than what it was? I mean, the one race that I like to flash back to is that All-Star race, remember?
Right.
They all wrecked, and then later on they wrecked again, and then we had a random surprise winner.
We could be in for that again here tonight for sure.
I mean, there's nothing really on the line, so they're all going to go all out and have fun and enjoy themselves. So this ought to be a really great end of this race. I'm hoping, at least. So with it being coming to lap 60, got about 31, like you said, left to go. What you thinking, fuel-wise, tire-wise?
I don't think we're
Would you
done
want
with
to come in at
cautions.
eighth?
If I'm perfectly honest, I don't think we're done with yellow flags. I think we're going to get ourselves a caution within that fuel window, and then it's just going to be academic. Everybody's going to come down, make sure that they're good to go on fuel
So,
because there's no overtime cautions here. They know that the checkered flag is waving, whether it
so,
be under green flag or caution flag conditions at lap 90's completion.
so if you're at the back, do you really want to try to force yourself aggressively to get to the front? And if you're at the front, do you want to be aggressive and stay there?
Absolutely. I think this restart right here, it's all about positioning yourself for that potential final pit stop if it's under caution. So I think that you're going to see aggressiveness all the way through the field as Andrew Miller brings Greg Palmer, Tim Nofsker, Josh Metallic, and Sean Prime back to the start-finish line. Great jump there for Miller. He'll be clear going into turn one. Nofsker saw to that as he's shoving the 47 all the way down the front straightaway.
Looking at some of these guys behind here, looking at Chuck McClure, Grant Wesley, Godfrey, Jeremy. They're still in this. They're still managing speed.
Greg Palmer got the wall a little bit there off of turn two as now Nofsker goes to the inside of Miller for the race lead. Dave Melson, we saw him upside down leave the scene of the accident with smoke trailing. They brought it down pit road, got it repaired. He came back out on the racetrack, made a lap under caution, brought it back down, made the hard left-hand turn to the garage area. He'll finish 24th here tonight. So 23 of our 31 drivers still remaining, all on the lead lap. And Sean Prime with a big run, help from Greg Palmer. He's going to go to the race lead.
And I'm watching here, Robert Falcon went from the bottom right to the middle. I don't know if he got tight or not. So some of this aggressiveness could actually be affecting the tires this early. You know that. Eating the tires real quickly, how aggressive you dive in that corner side.
Absolutely. These drivers, for the most part, are going into these turns flat out, if not maybe about 90% throttle if you deal with the aero tightness running behind another driver. So that right front tire heat's going to build up, despite the fact that, with the tire heat that's going on here with these trucks, it hasn't melted the snow down the infield any. Maybe they should have just taken these trucks out here and run them around the racetrack instead of putting the snowplows out. That would have made the snow go away.
Yeah, I want to see a snowman built in the infield. That would be funny.
First one to spin through the infield and hit the snowman is the automatic winner.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, if you wait, you said that there was a driver in the field. Was it Brian Wolf? Has Olaf the snowman on his
Yes.
truck? So if you
Got on
spin
the-
Brian Wolf, is that technically considered spinning into a snowman?
Do you want to go see if that's a possibility? Because I don't want to.
Not
I don't
really.
want to
I
do
don't
that
think
here.
Brian Wolf wants to see if that's a possibility either. As right now
Anyway.
he's running up inside of the top 15 last time by
And-
in 15th place.
And you notice Sean Prime up there, he's running that middle line, able to move up a little bit to control the draft and come right back down and control that bottom too. Oh, kind of out of shape here with Robert Falcom, almost 3 wide. Now they are 3 wide. Chuck McClure on the bottom.
Ooh, Bob LaChance, is he going to give him enough room?
Oh, there they go. And there
Jeremy
goes Chuck.
Jeffries
Chuck's
was in
around.
that as
Grant's
well.
included. Grant's involved.
Oh, wow. Yeah, more wrecking. Oh, gracious. Dante Ricky, Brian Wolf in that one. Well, somebody did spin the snowman.
Sean Prime leads him back to the start-finish line, so.
Billy Elliser, now we can identify that truck as it comes out of the snowbank. I think there was another car that wrecked further up here.
Oh, my.
I'll tell you one thing that's been a running trend here tonight, wrecks and then follow-up wrecks, because the initial wreck was between Jeremy Jeffries and Bob LaChance,
It was
I
Chuck
believe it
McClure.
was.
It was Chuck McClure, Bob LaChance, and then Jeremy got involved because he was
Yeah.
up high.
And then you go about another 100 feet further up there into turn 4, and there were more drivers wrecking. So, boy, it has been a tough night for drivers maneuvering their way through these wrecks without making additional contact and tearing up their race trucks.
And Jeremy had done a really good job at making a comeback, and then that had to happen to him. I just feel really bad about that happening with him. And then you see Grant Wesley, who's had a lot of issues plaguing him one after another. So.
Well, you asked me about would drivers feel this is go time if they're in the middle of the field, and I think this kind of points it out. You talked about Balcom getting loose off the corner, losing that momentum. Bob LaChance takes him to the inside 3 wide, and then Chuck McClure forced the issue almost 4 wide. Doors Bob LaChance up into the wall. Jeremy Jeffries nowhere to go, and there you see the trailing smoke further up with John Godfrey. Somebody like they might have been up and over. That's McClure in the 17 there, hard hit into the outside wall. We'll take a look at Godfrey, Dante, Ricky, and a bunch of others. What happened to them further up towards the exit of turn 4?
LaChance has retired officially.
There's the McClure wreck. Oh, McClure, after the contact, back end coming around on him. Nowhere for Godfrey to go. Grant Wesley in the 88 got a piece of it also. So that was, we'll call that wreck number 2 there in 3 and 4. And then if we go a little bit further up in the field, we're going to see where Dante, Ricky, and others get involved in an incident. I think this was also in part to drivers trying to avoid not only the initial wreck, but then the wreck further up with Chuck McClure and company.
Chuck McClure has retired.
Yeah, Brian Wolf getting on the brakes. Dante Ricky gets into the back of him. Billy Elliser spins down into the 84. Billy Elliser disappears there in the snowbank off of turn number 4. So I think I have to go to my second hand to count the number of drivers involved in this one.
1,
9,
2,
10, something like that.
They're really starting to get aggressive toward this later on, aren't they?
They definitely are. There's no doubt about it. And I'm wondering, you know, the move there by LaChance and the move by Chuck McClure, when they saw the truck ahead losing the momentum and made the move to the inside, and of course for Chuck McClure going even further to the inside, you know, was it either one or both of the mentalities of, number one, try and pick up as much track position as you can, and number two, it's a fun event, so, you know, drivers might actually race a little bit more out of their comfort space and make aggressive moves like that when they normally wouldn't make it in a race where points are on the line.
I also want you to think about this. Look at how low Chuck was when he was down there. Remember what we've been saying about being aggressive on the tires? And as low as he was, he could have gotten tight and just moved right up and hit the side of LaChance. But I just don't know if LaChance didn't know he was down there or if Chuck thought that LaChance would move up and give him room. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it could have been a case there of the 51 and the 17 playing a little game of chicken. LaChance maybe kind of trying to force Chuck McClure's hand of lifting out of the throttle into the corner, and Chuck McClure hoping that LaChance was going to give him room. Yeah, good point. Didn't work for either one of them there, as they're going to join Melson, Luce, Sullins, Katie, Robbins, Mahjong, Nisus, and Paglia in the garage area. So that garage area is starting to get a little bit busier here as we draw closer to the end of this race. We are now down to 21 survivors, as Cy Jones looks like he's going to be the race leader, although it looks like now he's indicating he's going to come to pit road. And if he does come to pit road and make a pit stop, then Cy Jones will have made as many pit stops here tonight as Grant Wesley has led laps, and he is our current lap leader with 16 in total.
Well, hey, Cy Jones has been keeping himself trying to be out of trouble, so whatever works for him, right?
I hope that each time he's coming down pit road, one of his crew members is giving him a Christmas gift to unwrap under pacing. Some kind of little mini game. You know, the 12 days of Christmas. This is the 16 pit stops in Michigan.
I was going to ask you, don't you think it's a little bit more than 12 or less than 12 right now?
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, that's like the common trend for Cy. Cy likes to stay out and lead an extra lap and come in for the end of the pitting. So not really surprised by that move from him. But so we got Grant, Jeremy, and Dante continuing, Seth. So I don't know how badly beat up these guys are going to be. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is Andre the leader up here?
He is indeed, with Richard Martin to his outside. Sean Prime and Nofsker have maybe been the two drivers that have consistently been up in the top 5 all race long. We've talked about drivers that have taken turns here at the front and gotten caught up in incidents. Those have been the two that, at least up to this point, have been able to keep themselves up in the top 5, have not met with any issues. Josh Metallic, it took him about 10-15 laps to get up here, but he's also been a pretty mainstay driver in the top 5, so we'll have to see if that consistency continues on for these drivers, as you know, we said there was still long ways to go before, there's still a long ways to go here, as it's going to be a
This is
total of
still, isn't this
23
still,
laps.
yeah, this is like the almost length of the actual fuel mileage pit stop here.
Yeah, good point. Right on the marker. So it's going to be interesting to see from
CTS
here on
physics
out.
too. CTS physics too, so we know that fuel drops.
Absolutely, as Charest's gonna get a nice jump. Tim Nofsker tried to get Richard Martin going on that top side. I'll tell you what, if it's a late race restart, and I've got to choose who I'm gonna have pushing me, I think I want to line up with Nofsker because he has shoved anybody that's in front of him on these restarts.
Side by side, all the way down, all the way back to Billy Elliser and Cy Jones back here. Godfrey's still running as well, so I'm surprised. Godfrey's still running this draft along with Dante. Grant's still up here in the draft. Jeremy Jeffries is running in the draft as well.
Martin a little out of shape there in front of Tim Nofsker. How about Jim Glaude now working his way up? No love for Andre Charest on the top side. He's going to go from second outside of the top 5. Glaude makes the pass. Miller looks to do the same. 3 wide. Tim Nofsker put in the middle. Martin on the top side. Greg Palmer on the bottom. Looks like they settle it out here off of turn number 2.
We also got to watch for these drivers getting in front of each other real quick, getting that high side line stuff, because we've seen drivers overcorrect. And, oh, driver on the apron, that's Glenn Harris. Godfrey makes evasive action. Dante going through the middle back here.
Godfrey up and into the wall there through 3 and 4, and Michigan's one of those racetracks where the outside wall kind of sucks you in and it will not let you go. You saw all that speed lost by Godfrey, and he has lost the lead pack.
But getting to my point, though, if you have a line up on the high side and you try to get in a hole, overdriving it, you can hit that wall easily, Seth. And then when you hit that wall, people randomly come right up behind you. Just one small tap is all it takes. So they got to be really careful. But they're not going to let up with like 20 laps to go. And a few of these drivers, I just heard it, are clutching, Seth, while they're running.
Oh boy. See how that plays out here. Will we have a fuel strategy race to the end? Will a caution spoil it all? We still have 20 laps to decide this out. 3 wide again. Greg Palmer put in the middle. Nofsker on the bottom. Andrew Miller high, wide, and handsome through 1 and 2. He's now going to fall back into the clutches of Jeff Supta, who's had a very interesting evening. Started on the pole, has been involved in a couple of incidents, and now back up here in the closing stages inside the top 10. 7th place that last time by.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's in line all the way back here to 16th Grant Wesley. Dante's barely hanging on in 17th, 18th back here is Glenn Harris. I think Cy Jones may have currently lost the draft here, Seth. I'm not really too advanced with my knowledge of draft at Michigan, specifically on how far back you have to be.
Like Billy Elliser, they've lost the draft. John Godfrey has also lost the draft, but that was, as we saw, due to him getting up into the outside walls. The battle's going to be for 2nd place. Jim Glaude got around Josh Metallic. Metallic crosses him over to try and take the position back. Robert Balcom back up here inside the top 5 as he looks for the 4th position on Greg Palmer. He's got Tim Nofsker behind him, and with that lap led, Sean Prime has now led the most laps here tonight. A total of 17 laps. Grant Wesley has led 16, and Jeff Supta has led 10. They are the only drivers to have led double digits, but we have had a number of drivers that have led laps here tonight. It kind of seems like, I don't know if it's necessarily the strategies we've seen under the multiple cautions, or if it's been the fact that we've seen drivers be able to save their tires on these longer runs, but the lead has not been an easy thing to hang on to for a number of these guys.
Yeah, it's not going to be much easier with these drivers. I've come across several other drivers that are clutching, Seth, and with these drivers trying to clutch to make it all the way to the end, I mean, you're going to be really not only managing that with your fuel, you also got to manage tire wear, and you got to manage your position too. And when you clutch, you lose so much speed and momentum on tracks like these.
So with the clutching, I mean, when we look at a super speedway, you don't want to be the lead car. You don't want to be the one creating the draft for everybody else. So if you're Sean Prime in the 15, do you maybe let somebody on by so that way you can save a little bit of fuel? Or do you continue to run as hard as you can right now, hope that a caution is going to save you and keep that track position?
Oh, that is true. You're leading, so you're burning off more fuel too. I think Sean right now has pretty much set his bet. He's got to go all out right now.
Falco's going to go all out. He's going to go to the lead, and Tim
Oh, there's
Knopfler's
a
going to
wreck.
follow him.
Grant, turn
Oh,
2.
big hit. Blaine Donlin in the 73 also involved.
Seth, this changes everything.
It does. They can make it from here. Here's Grant. Looks like maybe only just a 2-truck incident there with the 88 and the 73. So a lot of drivers slowing or down the apron, but I think that was just to make sure they weren't involved.
But you notice if you go back and look at the replay on this, Grant was kind of low. He was not clutching at this time, but he went really low, close to that yellow line. And, you know, some tracks have paint grip. So I'm wondering if there was any effect on Grant at that point of going down there.
That was fun.
Take a look and see. Oh, yeah. You definitely see that thing snap around.
It barely touches the... Notice it, just barely.
And I thought Dante Ricky got through it. Nope, he did get a piece of it there, spinning down to the inside wall. We know that Grant was involved in an earlier incident, and I'm wondering if maybe some damage on the back end would have made that truck a little bit looser now than it would have been earlier on in this race.
I'm not really sure, Seth. I really couldn't tell you that. It's Michigan. Usually every time everyone complains about getting loose, I get tight. You know that.
And normally as well, we end up seeing something like that take place when drivers are on fresh tires, on cold tires, but they had actually run a couple of laps here under green flag conditions, so I don't necessarily think cold tires would have come into play. Here's on board with Dante Ricky in the 84, who initially looks like he's going to be able to get through it, but then right here, got the 73 spinning right down into his path. There's a lot of space here on the back straightaway, and you have to hope that the lane you chose is a lane that a truck's not going to be. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case there for Dante Ricky. That spin turns it around, continues on. We'll see what the damage is for the Canada Dry truck. And to your point, changes everything. Everybody's down pit road. Big surprise. They're getting that tank full of fuel to be able to make it the rest of the way. And Tim Knopfler appears that he is going to be the leader off of pit lane, and he'll be the one to lead us back to green. Now, here's something else we've got to kind of toss around as well. The fact that, yes, this is a 90-lap race, but are we racing to lap 90? Because we've seen, what, 2 or 3 laps under pacing, maybe even 4 laps if we have lap down machines. So there's every possibility that this race could end as soon as the completion of lap 86.
Well, there's no one lap down right now, so what does that mean, like 3?
I would believe 3 laps of pacing then, yeah. Oh, Knopfler. Oh, I think Knopfler may have sped on pit road. He's on the apron letting the leaders on by, so the driver that looked like was going to be the leader when we go back green, dropping to the tail end of the field, and that means that I believe it's going to be, well, maybe Milt Surratt?
No, Knopfler's just saying, yeah, I'm that good. I'll give someone else a chance.
We'll see here if Milt cycles around as the race leader when he crosses the start-finish line. It might be himself and Brian Wolf. Actually, Cy Jones is going to be the race leader, then Milt Surratt, and then Brian Wolf. And boy, I'm wondering if maybe Milt Surratt and Brian Wolf, if those were 2 drivers that might have really been hardcore clutching under that last run and feel that they can make it the rest of the way without having to come to pit road when everybody else did.
You know, we really haven't paid much attention to that 80 truck tonight. I mean, we've called him out, you know, good couple runs here and there, but really haven't looked at him. Now look at him running in a second. I'm not sure if he pitted or not, though, Seth, so he might come down. But Brian Wolf behind him, I mean, we haven't talked too much about Brian either. Brian got caught up in a wreck earlier, and he's still running.
Both of these drivers started this race deep in the field. Milt Surratt from the 21st position, and Brian Wolf started shotgun back in 31st. Both of them up here with a shot of possibly winning the RTG Happy Holidays 200. Cy Jones is right now the race leader, but we'll see if he's going to, in typical Cy Jones fashion, maybe come to pit lane this time. We should see the 1 to green signal next time around. Sean Prime right now is scored in 4th, Jeff Supta in 5th, Josh Metallic, Robert Balcom, Grant Wesley, Greg Palmer, and Jeremy Jeffries would be the top 10. Now, I believe for Grant Wesley, he was scored 8th last time by, but that was crossing the start-finish line on pit road. I believe that he is getting the EOL for the caution, and so he will actually be starting tail end of the field on this upcoming restart.
It will be Milt Surratt and Brian Wolf top 2, and Sean Prime and Jeff Supras at the top 4.
I wonder, in the case of Prime and Supta and Metallic, was it fuel only? Did they take tires? If they took tires, it's going to be very interesting to see how the older tires on the 80 and the 29 hold up. Can the clean air to the nose kind of counter the tightness they're going to feel with the older Goodyears?
Well, I will give you an answer to that in a second.
Okay. So it's going to be 21 drivers.
Oh, there was
on
a
the
wreck
lead
on pit road, too. I don't know if you called that out or not, Seth. I don't know. I was paying attention to a lot of other things, but apparently it was an incident on pit road that happened as well.
Not certain who that was.
The 15 of Sean Prime spun, and Supta was behind him waiting for him to go, and he got hit by another driver. Dante went flying through the inside pit wall, just having fun. But they took tires.
They didn't. Okay, so
I know Supta took tires for sure.
We'll see if that fresh rubber is going to be the key. The battle for the lead between Milt Surratt and Brian Wolf for the clean air is going to be just as important as the battle for 3rd place on back. Drivers absolutely certain they can make it on fuel. Fresh Goodyears underneath them. As officially the top 10, we go back green here with what's going to be 11 laps to go. Milt Surratt, Brian Wolf, the front row. Sean Prime, Jeff Supta, and Josh Metallic, the top 5. Robert Balcom, Greg Palmer, Jeremy Jeffries, Jim Gloud, and Andrew Miller. That is the top 10. 21 drivers still running, all 21 on the lead lap. Closing in on 10 laps to go here in the Happy Holidays 200.
And yes, they did take tires.
Surratt leads us down to the start-finish line. Green flag back in the air. How crazy is this restart going to be with the 2 drivers on the front row on an entirely different strategy from the rest of the field?
I don't think we're done seeing cautions yet, though, Seth.
Completely agree with you. I think that we're going to see at least one more caution here as we're going to go 3 wide further back. Jeremy Jeffries looking to the inside of, I believe that was the Robert Balcom machine. Dante Ricky right there in the 84 as well. They settle it out to double wide. Miller way up top side there mid-pack. As up at the front, it's going to be Sean Prime to the inside of Milt Surratt. He's stalled out. Metallic with a run and a push from Greg Palmer. 3 wide across the
3 wide back here. Nosker's coming.
And
he's already picked up 6 positions.
Work at the front. Do they make it work back around 6? They do. Balcom and Ricky get themselves back out to double wide. So we had 3 wide in about 3 different portions of the field there. They all get it settled out. Metallic goes to the race lead, less than 10 laps to go, and the first time tonight that Josh Metallic is going to be leading under green flag conditions.
And I'm watching Tim Nosker back here, so he picked off 9 positions, and then Dante and Supta kind of was falling back a little bit, and that kind of checked Nosker up to the high side, so Nosker's kind of trapped up there right now. That is one heck of a battle up there for 4th.
The Brian Wolf, Milt Surratt, the strategy call not working for either one of them. Surratt's fallen back now to the 6th position. Brian Wolf about to maybe fade outside of the top 10 as he is running unofficially in 9th place.
Oh, contact between Andre Truss and Nosker. Nosker's slow. He gets hit by Glenn Harris.
And that, I believe, is going to bring out a caution. Yes, it does.
Look at Nosker.
Oh, he's hit that wall. We were told about this in pre-race, that there's an invisible wall down there on the inside, that snowbank off of turn 4, and Nosker has clobbered it.
Barely touched Terrace, just barely got a little close to him, Seth, on the outside. just a little touch was all it took, and then Novsker trying to save it,
And
and everyone coming in behind.
Novsker is done for the day. And it's really interesting because I feel like we've said this a number of times here tonight. Drivers making decisions or making mistakes that put them back in traffic, drivers that we've seen during the course of the night can win this race. And the mistakes they make that have cost them the track position have, in some cases, eventually taken them out of this race overall.
Dante, Jeremy Jeffries are coming in, Seth. I'm curious, why would you want to come in right now, specifically?
Well, if you look at where they're running,
Yeah.
sixth position for Jeremy Jeffries, eighth place for Dante Ricky. I think they feel that at this point in time, the trucks ahead of them are too strong for them to be able to pass them on equal footing with tires. They're going to come down, they're going to put on a fresh set and see if they can maybe get a little bit of a net gain between now and the checkered flag.
How many laps did they just go on tires? What was it,
about
4?
3 or 4, I would say. Maybe,
I'm
maybe 5
wondering,
max.
I'm wondering how many laps would be effective with that, because we heard that it would take 10 to 11 laps, right?
Yep. I mean, again, it's a non-points race. Go outside the box, outside your comfort zone in terms of strategy. Oscar had a nice save there, and then all that loss of momentum, Glenn Harris kind of runs him over, and oh man, it's that invisible wall. That is day over, night over there for Tim Nofsker. He will be finishing 21st here tonight.
It's always interesting how people sit there and say, well, you had time to hit the brakes, you had time to avoid this and that. A lot of people don't realize when you go to an intermediate track or a big plate track like, Talladega or Daytona, depending on how narrow it is, when a wreck happens, they're going about 100, like, for example, if we say this track here, I think I've seen them get close to 190, so we'll just say that, for example. When they hit each other and make contact, or they're trying to save it, they're going like what? About 170, 160 trying to save their car. Everyone else behind you is going 185, 190, and then they think you're going to save it, and then they make the last second to hit the brakes or turn to the right or left, and then there's just not much time to do much of anything at that point, because you don't know what's going to happen in front of you, and you got people behind you. So it's all right then and there. You can't really always fault people for, oh, you have plenty of time of this, plenty of time of that. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, the closing rate is huge when it comes to tracks like this. And also, too, I mean, we've seen it here tonight, drivers kind of battling for the middle line. You can't turn on a dime if somebody's in your lane. You've got to, ease the truck down that half lane, or maybe if you're lucky, a full lane to try and avoid the slower truck, which we saw Glenn Harris was trying to do. But you can't just jerk the wheel to the left and expect that that thing's going to go from the wall down to the yellow line in the corner. The other thing, too, as well, we saw it earlier when Grant Wesley ended up having some contact made between himself and Dave Melson. We saw him get on the brakes, hard on the brakes to try and slow that truck down. What happened? The right front locked up, and he went up towards the outside wall. So, you can't slam on the brakes with these trucks, because more than likely you're going to do even more damage to the truck you're trying to avoid than if you just keep it in the throttle, hope that maybe you can avoid contact and allow that driver to be able to gather their truck back up as well.
I agree. I've had plenty of incidents myself from personal experience where I've been on an intermediate or a short track, and I've gone into a corner and I've not just hit the brake, but I've had to let off. Just even a burp of the throttle on that bottom can just shoot you right up the track.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we are about to bear witness to the final restart of the evening here in the 2021 LTG Happy Holidays 200, because lights go out top the pace. That means we're going back green with 4 to go.
I am so glad you haven't had to really think that hard tonight. Thank you.
They've made my job easy for me.
I know.
It's the Christmas spirit, I guess. I don't know.
Josh, the gift that keeps giving.
It is. It is indeed. Josh Metallic, he's going to be the one to lead us back to green. Sean Prime will be to his outside. Jim Gloud is in third. Greg Palmer fourth. Robert Baucom in fifth. Milt Surratt and Brian Wolf, their beds have kind of been made. They're going to restart 6th and 8th as they bookend Jeff Supta, the pole sitter, in 7th. Andrew Miller is 9th, and completing the top 10 is John Godfrey. Doug Hill, he is going to be 11th. We haven't really mentioned a lot about the 23. Keep an eye on him in the closing stages. Richard Martin, he's in 12th. Blaine Donlin, he's 13th. Billy Ellis, 14th. Jeremy Jeffries is 15th place. 16th, Dante Ricky. 17th, Grant Wesley. 18th place is going to be Cy Jones, and Glenn Harris, 19th. Last car running, you mentioned Knopfsker in the garage area. Andre Charest also just brought his number 75 to the garage. So total, if my numbers are correct here, I believe 12 drivers in the garage area here this evening. And here we go. Are we racing to the checkers? Are we racing to the caution? Are we maybe racing to both if they get back to the white flag? We're about to find out.
Also, I want you to notice something, Seth. Remember earlier in this race, Jim Gloud, how he went way up high to fall back a little bit?
He's not falling back now.
I know. He's right there in contention.
Getting ready to go up through the gears. Josh Metallic going to be the control truck, waiting for the flagman to wave the green. It's in the air. Here we go. Who's going to be able
Greg
to
Palmer
hoist
did
the
not
trophy
get going.
at the end of the night?
Greg Palmer did not get going. That checks up that whole line.
Milt Surratt, Brian Wolf take him 3 wide on the top side. Meanwhile, Sean Prime, all of his drafting partners gone. Inside line, gets the advantage out of 2. Metallic to the lead. Gloud to second. Baucom trying to go to third, and here comes the pole sitter Supta, trying to go coast-to-coast pole to win and have the victory in back-to-back years.
They're really, really pushing it back here, Seth. They're going side by side all the way, but they're also moving forward and backward in front of each other. I'm just really concerned that they might have a little bit of a bumper grab effect if they're not careful.
3 laps to go, and Jim Gloud out in front in the 72. First lap he has led all night long, leaving him stacked up double wide behind. Baucom and Josh Metallic battling for second. Little contact between the two off the second corner.
We also got to watch that, too, because remember, if those hitboxes, we've seen them get really close. And one little netcode issue, we've seen that, Seth.
We're also going to have to see about blocking. We've seen bumper grab take place with that. Jim Gloud trying to make the rear bumper of his truck as wide as he possibly can and block both lines. Sean Prime's back into the mix now. He pulls up to the back bumper of Josh Metallic. Supta, where does he go? He goes to the bottom. He's got Andrew Miller.
Godfrey's coming into this play, too.
Richard Martin's in this mix. Greg Palmer's in this mix, as it's going to be a total of 4 miles left to go. One more lap next time by. Can they get to the white flag?
Oh, comes Steve Mara looking underneath Godfrey.
Boxed in is Robert Baucom as he tried, I think, to get to the outside of Jim Gloud. Now he's going to try it again. Metallic keeps it pinned down. Gloud going to have him 3 wide for second behind him. White flag in the air. One more lap to go. Can Gloud keep him in the rearview mirror one more time?
Looking back behind him, everything's calm. They're running side by side, but the action right now, Seth. Oh, Demar and Godfrey.
Caution would be out, but doesn't matter. We're racing back to the checkered flag. Baucom, where does he go? Is there a lane open?
Oh, Gloud's going down the block. Prime's trying to do something down there. He ain't going to get there. Metallic making a little run on that high side, but it's not going to be enough, Seth.
Jim Gloud, half a truck length over Robert Baucom. No challenge from behind. Jim Gloud is going to come down and win the 2021 Happy Holidays 200.
For a guy that we see that runs up front and then just gets a lot of misfortune in some of these other league races that we've called, Seth, couldn't happen to a better guy.
What do you say? A Christmas miracle right there for Jim Gloud?
Don't go there. Don't go there. I know exactly where you're going there, and Poteet's not here. So
4 laps led here tonight for Jim Gloud. They were the 4 final laps of this race. What a time to get to the front. And he's now going to bring it down here, and it'll look like a snowstorm on the front straightaway as he gets ready to do some victory burnouts.
That was a great race, honestly, at the end of that.
Absolutely. You mentioned
Couldn't
about
happen to a better guy either, because, I mean, I've been around him, you've been around him, and he, we like I said, we've called so many races where he's try to think outside strategy. He's got himself up front, but something always seems to happen, and starting off the end of this year, beginning the new year like this, couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Jim Glau gonna pull it up here to the start finish line on the front straightaway. And he'll be walking up there momentarily to the flag stand to pick up that checkered flag. He picks up the victory here tonight. And again, there's no points, there's no championship, but it doesn't mean that these special event races, that a victory in them is any less special. And it's going to be a lot of fun to maybe hear the emotion in the voice of Jim Glad when we interview him in just a few moments. But let's take a look here at the rest of the finishing results as
Yeah,
well.
look at that! Look at that second place. Where did he come from?
Robert Balcom there with the runner-up spot. Josh Metallic brings it home in third. Sean Prime in fourth. Great comeback run there for Jeff Slupta as well. Started up front, faded to the back with some issues, and gets himself a top five. Greg Palmer, good run for him there in sixth. Andrew Miller is going to bring it home in seventh. Jeffries, Martin, and Grant Wesley going to complete the top 10 as we had a total of 19 drivers finish this race. There you see Godfrey. You mentioned him having the incident on the final lap, bringing it home in the 19th position, and a number of drivers back in the garage area that we're going to show you here. But man, what a finish there at the end, because Jim Gloud, you mentioned about the fact there controlling both lanes, making sure that neither lane got a run, and Jim Gloud worked that to perfection.
Timed that positioning just right. And I was wondering because of the pit stops toward the end of that, what was going on. I mean, I remember seeing him coming off pit road when I told you about contact coming off pit road. Remember where Sean Prime was involved?
Right.
I believe one of the vehicles that were touched was the 72 with Jim Cloud, but I didn't know anything more about that. I mean, he went back, he was out there, everything was fine, and I was curious if he, you know, was going to be able to do anything up there because we saw him always go kind of a little bit higher up to fall back, and he stayed up there aggressively, blocked when he needed to, played a lot of defense, and it worked out for him.
And nothing really jumps to the forefront of my mind here during the course of this race of him being involved in any major incidents. So he did a great job of keeping his nose clean as well to have himself in the position up there at the
We
end.
we didn't call him out for any incidents at all under
Right.
any of the cautions that I can think of.
We will be talking in just a moment with Jim Gloud, but let's see if we can get a couple of the other drivers that were able to finish up on the podium as well. And let's begin things with tonight's third place finisher, the driver of the number 39, Josh Metallic.
Back and
Hey Josh, Justin Seth up here in the FRN booth. Have you got us?
gotcha.
Wow, I'll tell you what, it looked crazy up here in the booth. That finish at the end, that run to the checkered flag. Just how crazy was it down there in the cockpit of your Chevy Silverado? And oh man, is there anything you could have done to get around those other two guys to pick up this victory?
I could have blocked better. I got caught sleeping a little bit. I didn't think Jim had the run that he did coming off of two. And then by the time I realized it, it was too late to block it. I figured we were going to wreck the field again. We had enough of those tonight already. So I said, well, we'll just get back in it and try to race it up from there. And yeah, Balcom stayed low most of the time. I kind of pinned him down there, so I don't know how much of a choice he had. But it's kind of like Dega. He needed a little bit of a push. I had someone behind me at the end. But yeah, it's tough to pass on the outside unless you got pretty good tires. At least for me, it was. But yeah, it was fun. It was all about having fun, and it was rough at times, but I think the finish was pretty good.
Hey, Josh, I have a few questions for you real quick. Now, the first one I want to ask you was, it seemed like we were looking at, based on the tally challenge, how we always want to run that middle line. Was that the same process tonight? That middle line was the overpowering line?
No, you can pass high, low. I mean, we went three wide quite a bit. I don't think there's any dominant lane. I think the low line might be a little easier saving tires in the turns, but you
Was
get
that
the right
low?
guys in any lane, it'll work.
We
Um,
we just saw a lot of people run that middle line trying to like hold that middle compared to the high side or bottom. That's what I was just curious about on that.
I don't know. I mean I went I was high, I was low at times. It all worked for me.
Also, another question I had to ask is there's been a point where you were kind of in the middle toward the not really the far back, but you were in the middle of the pack, and then you finally got up front. You were able to stay up front quite a bit. Now, being up front, did you want to try to stay up front the whole time, or was it getting like was it being too aggressive up there? Was there any points where you wanted to kind of like ease off and just ride in the middle just a little bit, or did you feel like you had to be up front even before the 20 laps to go? Like the most of this race, did you need to be up front, track position wise?
I wouldn't have mind running and saving a little bit tires. I mean, it's pretty much flat out, but tires do make a difference, especially at the last 5 laps of a run. But the way the carnage was going on, I didn't want to be mid pack or back of the pack. A lot of good guys got caught up in stuff. Um, cycling through pit stops. We had so many that guys were taking 2 tires, no tires. I took 4 every time, and that put me back mid pack multiple times. I was just lucky enough not to be in any of the wrecks when they happened. So I would have saved tires, but kind of the way the race was going, it's a non-points race. Everyone's up on the wheel. I figured the further up you were, the less of a chance you had at getting wrecked, hopefully.
You talk about it being a non-points race, and we touched on the fact that in a lot of the special events, when there's no points, there's no championship on the line. Sometimes drivers are willing to go outside of their comfort zone, be maybe a little bit more aggressive, make moves they normally wouldn't make during a schedule event with points on the line. Does that apply for you coming into an event like this, or do you basically approach this as if it were, say, a league race during a schedule?
Oh, totally. I went more 3 wide tonight than I have all season. I like the non-points race. You can just kind of do what you want and get a little on the verge of being over aggressive at times. I put, you know, we were 3 wide. I think I caught someone by surprise taking 3 wide just because I don't do it that often. But the non-points, it's fun. You can just drive it like you're just one of the other drivers. And I try to do it regularly like that. But um, when you're adminning, you can't be telling people not to do silly stuff and then go do it. So tonight's night we can try that stuff.
Well, great run for you here tonight, Josh. Kept that thing up inside the top five pretty much the entirety of the night. You bring it home P3. Congratulations. And now we're going to give you the opportunity for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks to all the drivers that keep this place running. In a non-points race, Christmas time, we still had almost 30 trucks, so the drivers make it fun. The reason we do this. And then thanks to Sean Prime and Dave Cannon for running this place. It does not run itself. There's a lot of work that they have to deal with. The admins too. Appreciate them. And definitely you guys. It's been a little while since I've been in an FRN broadcast race, and miss having you, especially on Thursdays, maybe one day. But appreciate Jessica stepping in the booth, you, Seth, and Matt as well. And it's always fun to go back and watch them. So I'll definitely be joining this one later this week.
You hurt my feelings, Josh. I actually chose you as one of the drivers to watch, and you actually were running your Caterpillar car tonight, and you didn't plow any snow.
Uh, for a change, yeah, finally had a good run. I've been in a few wrecks over the years in this race. Just glad to finish with no damage.
Well, he had a good run indeed. Third place here tonight in the RTG Happy Holidays 200. Congratulations once again, Josh. And obviously, of course, best of luck to you in next season's special event here.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Let's see if we can now dial up our runner-up finisher. Started this race from the 8th position, brings it home P2, and that's Robert Balcom.
10-4.
Hey, Robert, Justin Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got us?
Oh, 10-4. How y'all doing?
Well, man, I'll tell you what, We seem to always see a trend whenever we see you at the mile and a halfs, mile racetracks, 2 mile racetracks. It doesn't matter where. We're going to see that 018 up at the front in the closing stages and almost picked up that victory here tonight. What little more did you need to be able to get around the 72? Because it looked like he had a pretty big back bumper there.
Yeah, honestly, I was fine pushing Jim. He's had a pretty rough season, and it was really good to see. It's good to see somebody different win a win. And like I said, you've seen it all season, the kind of luck he's had. So I didn't really want to make a bad move and stick him in there. So I done kind of made the move up to just push him as much as I could. And then, like I said, maybe on the last lap, if he pushed up or something, turn under him. But I was fine pushing him. It was fun.
Now, Robert, you got in the far back for a little bit of an issue earlier on. How was it when you were running back there? Because I touched on it. It just didn't seem like, to me, there was so much of a gap between you and the other drivers in front of you at that point. I felt like something was wrong. Like maybe you had a little bit of damage or something. But Seth said you didn't have any issues whatsoever. So there was a chance that you were just biding your time back there. I mean, were you actually biding your time back there, or was it really difficult getting back up to the front?
Oh yeah, I was definitely saving my stuff because these trucks they get really a lot of right front tire temp to them, and so I was just going to kind of buy it. I'm glad you brought that up. That I want to apologize to Dave. There was really not a lot I could do there. Go ahead and look. He was kind of rolling outside, and I was kind of going through the middle. And Dante had got the hole there, and when Dante moved up, Dave kind of had to check up kind of hard for him, and I was already back in the throttle, and I honest to God just never imagined to bump him like that. So I mean, I took it regardless. But yeah, once I got back there, everybody was kind of 2, 3 wide, so I really couldn't go anywhere anyways. I knew as long as I kept myself in the draft, that would be fine. And then with probably about 15 to go, I kind of picked it up and I got up in the top 10. But then we had a caution, so it was fun. It was a fun race. Like I said, I decided to kind of go hard right there before those last few cautions. And I took the lead, and as soon as I took the lead, the caution come out. So I tell you, it's tough to pass, especially when the two guys in front of you side by side. You just don't have a lot of places to go unless you want to stick it 3 wide and then hope for the best. But that's just not the way I do it. So it was fun. It was a great race. It's good to hear y'all back broadcasting again. I always enjoy hearing y'all on the tube.
Now, Robert, we talked just moments ago with Metallic about stepping outside the comfort zone when it's a special event in terms of racing. But what about in terms of strategy and pit strategy? Because we know that these type of racetracks, the 2 mile racetracks, they're like a super speedway in terms of whether you come down under a caution to take fuel, whether you come down under a caution to maybe take on some tires. And we had some early cautions, we had some late cautions. So did it make it easier or harder to be able to make those strategy calls of whether to come down pit road or whether to stay out and keep that track position with there being no points and no championship on the line?
Oh, every time I got a strategy, it would get changed. Like every time I thought, okay, I'm gonna clutch and save a lap of fuel, and then we run 2 or 3 laps on caution. I go, okay, let's try this again. So okay, I knew there was no way if we ran over 5 laps, 2 tires was not gonna be the play. So I mean, no matter what, you're gonna want to take the 4 tires. But every time that we got the caution, I was just got it to where I could make it on gas. That right, I think it was probably like I don't know, 15, 20. Well, right before I took the lead, it was Sean, Josh, and me running up there, and I was saving the whole time behind them. And then once I got it to 2 lap, from 1 lap to 2 laps to good. I knew it would be tough on Sean because he'd been out front leading it. So I decided to go for it, and that's when I took the lead because I figured if I got out in the lead, it was going to be tough for them to pass me with me having enough fuel. But like I said, that's what happens. You have these late cautions, and it throws a wrench in. You just got to make it work.
We saw you slicing and dicing there in the closing stages, trying to get this victory. You come up just short, but still a great performance, a great comeback as well as just documented the earlier issues having to work your way through traffic. So, congratulations on the great run here tonight. Now, we'll hand the mic over to you for some thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Thank y'all. Yeah, I definitely want to give y'all a shout out. You guys are awesome, Flatout Racing Network. I really enjoy you and Jessica. Y'all do a great job and always right on top of things. I want to give a shout out to Dave Cannon, all the admins at Rolling Thunder. If anybody's out there looking for a league, I mean, this is by far one of the best leagues. I've run in so many different leagues, and I mean, these guys. It's just if you honestly, if you finish in the top 10 in this league any given night, you've really accomplished something. Because there's just, I mean, I could name 15 drivers right now that could go to other leagues and just dominate. I want to give a special shout out to Rodney Sullins. He had some issues right there at the end. He painted this truck for me, the Christmas story. I raced it for my wife. Jennifer, that's her favorite movie. Believe me, we watch it 24/7 from the was it Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. We had to. It don't go off for TV, so it was pretty cool having the lamp and the fragility on the side of the car. With it being Christmas time, I want to let my mom know she's in my prayers. My uncle, he's got cancer, and they kind of gave him less than 6 months, so this probably be the last Christmas with him. And also my wife's grandmother, Grandma Bert, she's in the hospital right now, and it doesn't look like she's gonna get to come back home. So I just want them to know we're thinking about him, and everybody out there. I want to wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Everybody be safe, enjoy your family. And for my family in the other room that's listening, I love y'all. Jennifer, my daughter Caitlin, and my mom. Yeah, my mom's even watching this. How cool is that? So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, and y'all too. Enjoy your holidays and have a Merry Christmas.
Well, appreciate. I'll tell you, I was looking for the lamp on that truck. Didn't see it. I'm glad it was
Yeah,
there. So
it
good.
was on the side. I was wanting to type to y'all and tell you it was right on the side of the door. He put it right in front of my number.
Well, good on you. You can't have a Christmas story scheme without that lamp making a
No, for
feature
sure.
there.
And before I go, I also want to give a shout out to Jim. I'm sorry, I should have said it first. Great job, Jim. Man, he deserved this one. He's a Canadian, so we'll let him slide for that. But no, he's a great dude. So I was really happy to push him. So great job, Jim. You deserved it, buddy.
That's Robert Balcom. He's your runner-up finisher here tonight in the RTG Happy Holidays 200 at Michigan. Congratulations once again. A good run there, Robert.
Thank you.
All right, it's time to go down to victory lane. Looking forward to hearing the possibility of the emotion in the voice here of this one. Jim Gloud, your winner here tonight. Let's talk with him now. Give that a second try. Hey Jim, it's Justin Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I sure do.
Well, man, I'll tell you what. Was talking about the fact that we didn't really mention your name here tonight when there were cautions, and so that was a good thing. You kept your nose clean and didn't mention you up there at the front till the closing stages, leading the final 4 laps. What a time to put that 72 out in front. You pick up the victory here tonight, but what was the heart rate like on that final restart?
I thought, I'm gonna go to the snow if he's gonna go down there. I'm not letting him get to my inside. That was my only thought. And then when it came to the corner, I thought, oh crap. But the old Ford there, it held.
Well, Jim, it's really, really great to see you in victory lane, and I really want to say congratulations on actually getting that. That was a long time coming and well deserved.
Well,
Now,
thanks, Jessica.
you're welcome. So with you winning this, even though it's a special event, technically a league race or a points paying race or anything like that, how is this going to make you feel moving forward to the new year?
Um, you know what? I really don't. I'm not really a fast qualifier. Um, I just kind of my thing is to be consistent. This year I was consistent, but I missed a lot of races, so um, slowly it took me out of it. But with the caliber of drivers we've got here, to get a win, it's second place is a win, third place is a win.
Jim, we saw different drivers on different strategies in the early stages of this race, and sometimes it played out into the favor mid race to the end of the race. Sometimes it didn't. It looked like your strategy at the initial start, you start up inside of the top 10, but we saw you kind of start to fade to the back, try and get yourself into a safe spot. But with where we saw wrecks taking place, some at the front, some in the middle of the pack, how difficult was it to position yourself in a safe haven in this field?
Well, that's exactly what happened. When the wreck started, I thought, oh, crap, I got to get back up there. So when I went into the pits, I knew it wasn't. we didn't have a tire limit, but my tires were new still. They were barely worn at all. So I just took fuel and got me into second place. But just that little bit of wear made a difference if you got pushed to the outside. I got freight trained, went to the back, and once my tires equalized with theirs, I could start picking them off again. But I normally use the first pit stop to do my strategy to see something that I could do at the end of the race, and that was definitely something I wasn't going to do.
Well, Jim, obviously, I echo what Jess said. Congratulations on a well-deserved victory. It sounded like, with the interviews we had as well, this has been a very popular win here tonight. Pretty cool to see you be able to pilot that 72 across the start finish line, pick up that checkered flag, and now we're going to turn the mic over to you for some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shoutouts.
For sure. First off, I'd like to thank the two of you in FRN to put this on. Um, you know, all my teammates there with MNT, they had some bad luck tonight. I wish we could have had more of us out there. And I'd like to thank the admins for all they do. I mean, this is not easy to put together this caliber of racing with these guys. I know we had a lot of cautions. That's not indicative to what we do. We normally race very well, and that's what I feel proud about being here. Just to finish up in the top 10 makes it all worth it, and to get one of these wins is definitely I'll treasure it. So again, I'd like to say kudos to everybody that puts in the extra time so we can do this.
Jim Glaude gets to burn it down here tonight at Michigan. He's your winner of the 2021 Rolling Thunder Gaming Happy Holidays 200. Congratulations once again, Jim, on a well-deserved victory. Go and enjoy it.
Again, thanks again, and happy holidays, everybody.
So as Jim Glaude continues to celebrate his victory here tonight, a bit of an early Christmas present and something to ring in the new year. One thing I want to quickly touch on here, just something that he was talking about is, this is a overall league that does not have multi cautions, like a lot of cautions in their races, 11 cautions here tonight. But I'm just going to go out and say, it doesn't matter if it's a league that normally runs green flag runs in all of their races. When it's a special event and you've got an opportunity to make a move, you got to make it. I mean, you got to have that mentality. I know that maybe there's some out there that would have liked to have a cleaner race, but doggone it, it's a special event. There's no points, no championship on the line. I don't see an issue with the fact that we had double-digit cautions here this evening.
Absolutely not. It was still an exciting and quite an interesting format, an interesting race regarding the strategy, the pit stops, and who was going to take tires, who was going to come out, and having a random winner. And I hate to say it like this, it's not like any disrespect to him, but no, I don't think any of us were thinking Jim Glaude, period.
Yeah, I
So,
would agree
I
with
mean,
that for sure. If we were considering him, it was probably in like the dark horse category. There were probably going to
absolutely.
be another half dozen drivers that we would probably have had ahead of him.
And this is going to be probably one of the more popular wins of this year and moving forward. It's probably got to be up there as one of the most popular wins that have happened so far, I think.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's going to be interesting to see here as well. I mean, you alluded to it, what kind of momentum is this going to give Jim heading into 2022 and different respective series and everything as well? Because, while there's no points on the line, there's no championship on the line, there is pride, there is confidence that can be gained when you win an event like this.
Well, knowing when you start a league race with certain people, you know what you're expected to do, etc. When you venture out and start competing against people who whoop your butt every single week, and finally you get one moment where you actually beat them, knowing that you were in that position and you did better than them, and a few of them were actually at full speed, like Josh Metallic and Sean Prime, you can beat them. Yeah, your mind changes that mindset, knowing that, hey, guess what? I know I can do this. I've done this before, and I know I can do it again. So with that confidence and that mindset moving forward, Jim might actually start, changing his game plan around a little bit now.
Absolutely. Well, no doubt about it here tonight. A feel good story at Michigan. Jim Glaude, the winner of the 2021 RTG Happy Holidays 200. Congratulations once again to him. Appreciate everyone that tuned into our coverage here tonight of this special event. And Jess, I know you've been under the weather here this week. I appreciate you fighting through it and joining me in the booth here tonight.
I was forced to work today for 8 hours, and knowing you, I got forced to work again tonight. Because that's exactly how I am in this series. I'm a freaking slave for South Cole because guess what? He's my boss and I have to listen to him. So here I am.
Well, definitely appreciate it. Again, thanks to everybody that tuned in here tonight. Hope that you guys enjoyed this race and our coverage. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well if we don't see you before then. For Jessica Shelton, I'm Seth Cole signing off here tonight as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.